Yeah, Critical has taken a lot of damage. This is really good juggling that's coming out from the back chats as well. Look at this!
No way. No way Dark Remains unspawned in that bush.
Oh my goodness, and he's just going to get the killing blow.
He is indeed going to be reset. Yes, he's probably going to get taken down as well.
This can't be how it works. Win somehow is still alive! I think they're doing it, Jordan. It all comes down to this.
Oh, Rainbow thinks he's going to get out of there on 185 HP, but Ozzy says, I'm going to find you.
Monkey has arrived. Where's the shot going to go into? Oh, phantom swing, Amarak.
Well, hello. The time is now. It's happened. It's been a very long season of ANZPL season for the longest ever. We've only got 2 broadcasts left. This is our last regular season. I guess the Friday night broadcast, Jordan. It's not technically regular season anymore. We are into playoffs and a bit to play for tonight, both in the B-League final. We can talk about the importance of that shortly, but of course, our ANZPL, our last match of the season before live finals, and Panthers v the Scorpions, the big one tonight for them. I don't know. This is, I think tonight's going to have some interesting results.
Yeah, I suppose a couple of very important qualification games if we want to sort of go down that train of thought, right? The qualification into ANZPL and then the qualification into the ANZPL final. So 2 very big matches ahead of us, and hopefully for all teams involved, they're going to give it their best shot.
Yeah, well, an awful lot is at stake for tonight. Cthulhu, the B-League finals as well. We haven't had a chance to cast the B-League this season. I always enjoy when we get a shot to see the teams from the finals, and I am personally excited to say that it's 2 Queensland teams in the finals for the B-League.
Yeah, look, quite excited for the B-League finals. Yeah, look, there has been quite a fair bit of interesting talk about some of those teams and the teams that did manage to make it to the finals. Given the difference in the playstyles as well, this is bound to be an absolute heater of a game, but whichever one makes it, I believe now makes it into the ANZPL, I believe.
Yeah, and we'll touch on that very shortly because there's some big news there, some maybe disappointing news, but important news for those B-League teams, of course. But let's have a quick chat about last round and how we got here. Last round, I hyped it up, boys. I said this is going to be the best round of ANZPL ever. I said we've got this great finals format. Instead of 1v4, 2v3, it's 1v2 and 3v4. So we're definitely not going to get any 4-0s, Jordan. And then look what happened.
Yeah, I think there was a couple of, I don't want to say the word disappointing performances, but, it might be what kind of has to come out my mouth, because last week was not good in some capacities. I think Scorpions would be very disappointed with themselves going down 0-4 to the Sentinels, a team which they had just beaten very recently in the regular season. And the Conquerors to start off so well. Not be able to sort of, I feel like, really capitalize on that. They didn't quite probably make it as far as they thought they would have or thought they could have. They definitely didn't make it as far as I thought they could have. To see 2 4-0s last week, I suppose it really just goes to show, right? When the pressure is on, these teams, some of them crack and some of them are able to flourish. And last week it was Sentinels and Panthers that flourished, so we'll have to wait and see whether or not this week Panthers is going to continue to flourish. And obviously once we get into the season finals, whether or not Sentinels with that experience on the land stage are going to be able to just melt their opponents.
Yeah, it really is sink or swim. And look, you could have anyone. I think it was reasonable to say that you thought any of those matches could go either way last week, and that's kind of the format, and that all makes sense. But the 4-0s and the way it played out, and the convincing victories for both teams was what genuinely surprised me. It was very much a wild ride, and it does raise questions for this week, and of course going into finals. We'll take a look at our player leaderboard, our all-stars that we have been keeping a track of all season as well. And after that result from the Conquerors, I know, gents, that Merry Turnip Day had been up there, right? We talked about him all season long, but I suspect Russian was up the top to start with, and Russian's still right there right now, Cthulhu, and I think we all know why.
Yeah, look, for very valid reasons, the man has been an absolute damage farmer when it came down to, well, any of his games for the majority of it. For a long while, he's been kind of kicking it around the second place, and just recently, in the past couple of weeks, he managed to finally dethrone Mary Turnip Day. But yeah, look, it was off the back of just very excellently set up positions for him by Scorpions, and the fact that, well, the positions worked out far better than one expected, namely, cough cough, the Striv on the, not the Muravanka, Prokhorovka.
Look, I'm a big Strids fan. You know, I'm not very good at it myself. I actually don't even have the right tank. I have like the tier 8 one that you can buy, but
Udas.
it's good. It's good. It's a good tank, so I can't blame him for trying it. And I love to see it. It's a bit of fun. And you know, even when you get to this part of the finals, it's good to see. We've seen some diverse metas come out. Some cool picks as well. So we'll see whether that continues tonight. I know the B League's always a little bit different as well. So let's take a look at tonight's matches. We have been talking about the B League, and that's what we're going to start tonight's matches with. I said it was the Queensland teams, the Cairns Comets up against the Bundaberg Badgers. That's what we're going to be kicking off tonight with. And then following that, it's our consolation final. We're trying to decide who's going to come through, go head-to-head with the North Sydney Sentinels Saturday, 2 weeks from now, live from Fortress, Melbourne. That is going to be an important game. The Comets v. the Badgers. Some would say that the Comets v. the Badgers, Jordan, is almost a more important game because it decides who makes it into ANZPL next season.
Indeed. I mean, that's going to be a big one, isn't it, right? You talked about it being, I guess, an important opportunity and quite an exciting time last season when we got to watch that. And, you know, indeed, we got to see one or two of those players kind of go through from that final game into ANZPL. But now it's a bit of a different ball game where you realistically can qualify essentially a whole team into ANZPL. So I don't think there's ever been really a better opportunity in the B League than there is currently for both the Comets and the Badgers. And I'm quite excited to see what stops they're going to be able to pull out tonight.
Yeah, me too. Everything's on the line, and I think, you know, the Comets have been running pretty hot, but when there's so much at stake this week, you know, and that direct shot that wasn't guaranteed at the start of the season with the Bulldogs, I believe now not going to be representing the great town of Brisbane next season for a variety of reasons, so that spot is open, and thankfully, we're going to replace them with the Queensland team because that would have been kind of sad if we'd entirely dropped the ball on that one. But the Scorps v. the Panthers, look, let's be real. I can talk up the Comets v. the Badgers all night long, but we want to know who's going to make it through to the finals. Let's take a look at our playoffs bracket and where we are in the process. We started off with our top 4 teams, and we had 1v2 and 3v4, and I thought this is going to be tight. It wasn't. The Sentinels destroyed the Scorpions last week. Panthers did exactly the same thing to the Conquerors. So the Sentinels made their way through to the grand finals, being the winner of that upper bracket final. Now the Panthers have to win one more game in a row if they're going to live the dream, if JS is bringing it home, Jordan. And we hear that a lot, right? And the Panthers made it into the finals last season, but last season we didn't have that live LAN experience. So pretty cool opportunity for them if they can make it.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, I think it's obviously going to be a tough ask today for both of these two teams. It's been historically quite a close game between Scorpions and Panthers when we've seen them play in the regular season. And, you know, form-wise, last week, if you would have asked me about this matchup, I would have given it to Scorpions pretty easily. But now I'm kind of looking at it and wondering maybe Panthers is going to make that Cinderella story happen. Regardless of the fact, I think that whichever team does make it through from this consolidation final is going to go into that grand final as quite the severe underdog. Really, neither of them have got a huge wealth of experience on the LAN stage, and quite a few of those Sentinels members do. So already you can kind of see Sentinels are sort of improving under the pressure, and some cracks starting to show in other teams. And then you compound that with a LAN stage. I think it's going to be really tough for either the Scorpions or the Panthers to take the title off Sentinels now.
Yeah, the pressure is on when it's live, that's for sure. So, Jordan, you said you can't really pick, and maybe it could be the Panthers, but if we bring up the predictions, I have a sneaking suspicion You're going to be sitting there right with me. We've got the Comets. We've got the Scorpions. Cthulhu, you're the odd one out with the Panthers, and we can chat about that one shortly. The Ouija's in the same vein with Sandman and Elfish Guy. They just looked at my score of 20 and said, we're going to make sure that Sandman can't catch up to us because he's just that good at predicting, unlike Elfish Guy. And then there's production. And I do want to warn both of you gentlemen tonight that there is an opportunity here for you, Jordan, to be below production on the leaderboard, and for you, Cthulhu, for them to catch up by 1. So that would be a little bit embarrassing if that were to occur.
Yeah,
but you guys only have yourselves to blame.
But all I will say is I'm second on the fantasy leaderboard, and that's all I care about.
Yeah, I actually, with me not being at home tonight, I did not pick my fantasy for this week. And I know it's supposed to copy your previous week, but I don't know how that works when I had a bunch of Scorpions players in my lineup. A bunch of Sentinels players. So I think I might be in a little bit of trouble, but it doesn't matter because the prediction leaderboard here is all that really matters for me. So we've got everything out of the way. Time to have a proper chat about the B-League finals, gents. This is the big one. These teams, they've been duking it out every week in the same way that the ANZPL teams have. Season at a glance here for the Comets, Cthulhu. That's a lot of wins on the board for this Comets lineup.
Absolutely, yeah. Look, Comets are a team that has been showing us some really good performances in their solo / kind of dual play department. They're a team that has been kind of practicing that sort of a expanded kind of play where they kind of try to kind of extend their play throughout the majority of the map, and then try to essentially kind of go for a bit of a collapse, almost like a hive mind. And you look at the season so far. I mean, apart from taking one single loss in a tiebreaker as well, that does pose us with a very interesting kind of storyline for them here.
Yeah, and I think that's a big one. And Jordan, you'd probably agree. Sometimes when you're the favourites in the way that the Comets are, I don't know, is there extra pressure on for them tonight, or do you think they're coming into this one relatively confident?
I definitely think there is an extra degree of pressure. Obviously, they'll be thinking about the fact that they can make their way into ANZPL as well, and that's kind of going to be compounding it. So it's not even really just bragging rights anymore. Like, there is something kind of more tangible to think about for the Comets. And the fact that if they've had such a good season, and by the way, having beaten the Badgers a couple of times, as we've seen in that graphic as well, this is the one important game that if you do lose this one, it's kind of like, well, what was it all for? How much effort did we have to put in to get to this point to then ultimately lose what was the most important game of the season, even though we do have a better record against these guys already. So there's a whole lot of that going through your mind. And as I've said with a couple of the other instances, right, when we're talking about ANZPL, some teams are going to thrive under that pressure and some teams are going to crack. And we just have to sort of wait and see which one is going to be which.
Yeah, and I think that, it plays out in all sorts of games, right? It's the same way. The pressure is on, and it really takes teams and players to have that opportunity to see how they go. And you find out how they do stack up under pressure. The Badgers, I think the last game that they lost was against the Comets. But when you look at this season at a glance here, and it does stick out, Cthulhu, the only losses they've got are against that Cairns team.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it seems like Comets have been kind of the kryptonite of them, but at least from what I heard as well, the main kind of issue for Badgers is that on quite a fair few maps as well, they do tend to kind of keep being repetitive in their strats. So that was allegedly one of the kind of the things to really worth talking about, and given that, Badgers did indeed take quite convincing losses as well, not even in a tiebreaker against the Comets. It kind of sets us up with, with us seeing Comets as the favorites going into this, but more so kind of the idea, and speaking of the whole pressure as well, it's also going to be on the Badgers, given that, we're already seeing one or two strats here and there, but are they going to diversify here is kind of the main question for me.
Well, if ever there was a time, it would be the finals. This is the time. Like, if you can get through the whole season sandbagging, not showing strats, doing the same thing, and you make it through to the final too, that's the time, Elfish Guy. That's the time to to bring out the big strats. We'll have our map picks and bans. It's Cliff for the Badgers. Sand River is the pick for the Comets. Maravanka is going to be our third map, should we get that far. And then tiebreaker is Himmelsdorf if we really, really need it. This is a best of 7, just as last week's games were. And I don't want to jinx it, but this one is definitely not going to be a 4-0, Jordan. Definitely not.
Definitely not. Well, we're certainly going to be hoping so. One thing that I guess will give us some maybe hope is the fact that last time they played Cliff, it was a 1-1. So I don't know if that floats your boat there, Ben, but we'll have to wait and see, I guess.
It tickles my tank, that's for sure. It's going to be a big one. This is our grand final of the ANZ BL. The winner of this best of 7 will make their way into Pro League next season. An awful lot on the line. The two teams from Queensland, Comets and the Badgers, going head-to-head.
All right, let's find out what this is all about. Cthulhu, instantly a very early exchange of damage, which is not something I think that you'd normally see from a position like that. The batch out of Phantom Yamato might be under a little bit of pressure, and it looks like his team is going to need to do a lot to bail him out of that. I mean, immediately, what I'm kind of noticing, and in regard to the discrepancy between PL and BL, is that there's just a lot of early bleed happening right now for the Badgers. It seems like Comets are way more prepared than the Badgers here, at least on this map.
Yeah, absolutely. It definitely feels a little bit unprepared here for Badgers, and kind of the idea for them previously was kind of to bring a double E5 and S-Conk 1 CS. So it definitely looks like there's been slight change in the play, but in doing so, they ended up kind of crippling themselves a little bit with the lack of HP, at least at the beginning of it all, albeit, I mean, you look at it now, already 2k difference, and Aussie Noob already has been bled to almost half of his health pool.
Well, I don't even know if it's necessarily just the HP disadvantage. Obviously, that is a factor, but I'm looking at the map positioning for Badgers, and they don't really have any map positioning. That's the unfortunate reality, right? They've got the CS63 up on the hill. That's nice, but when you've got the rest of your squad, particularly I'm looking at Phantom Yamato in that bat chart, who is essentially now stuck. He cannot really move from there without taking some damage. The ball is in the court of the Comets. All they have to do now, and given the fact they're on the defense, you might even argue they don't have to do anything. Is, you know, kind of cross their T's and dot their I's, and make sure that they're not throwing away their HP, and just making sure that they set themselves up in positions to, you know, do a bit of damage to the Badgers as they inevitably are forced to push into them. But it looks like Comets have pretty much already won this round as long as they don't throw it away. And I dare say, based on how solid they looked in that initial default, they're probably not going to throw it away.
Yeah, look, I am a bit skeptical, not gonna lie, of what Badgers so far have conducted. Not a whole lot of... Well, they didn't even attempt to establish any sort of presence on the middle either, which is probably the most kind of awkward part of the setup for me. Yeah, Yamato's position, trying to essentially proxy spot Rupro. I mean, yeah, cool. Yeah, you got a permalit CS63, but the rest of the team is still kind of just chilling. They're just relaxing and enjoying the sunny side of the cliff, I suppose. Because, I mean, you look at Arthur Zula, you look at Flaming as well. This is all great for them in their position, and a 277 should some sort of a push from the double cran come around. Both VZ55 and the 277 should be more than enough to essentially deal with those two heavies.
Well, very I would say slow and steady game right now from the Comets and Badgers. Was that onus is a little bit more so on the Badgers. Was that a drop there from Fury down the hill? He took a little bit of damage, which is fine, but I almost don't, like, I half don't mind this. You know, it's Badgers starting to try and get a bit of a wriggle on, trying to do something. They're going to try and maybe wrap that Super Conqueror and the Bat Chat around into the donut from the 1-2 line. It should be spotted out here by Rupro. I'd assume they're close enough to get proxy lit.
I'm not too sure if Fury was spotted, actually. That's my question here, albeit looking by the rotations as well, they have taken notice that at least something is happening. Plus the CSTT3 already rotating as well. Yeah.
PP Power is on the move. What a name. I hope that guy gets into Pro League. I'm sure we'll have fun with that one. I mean, if they weren't aware of that Super Conqueror wrapping into the 1-2 line already, they will definitely be now. This should be
Yeah.
some free shots for PP Power. Looks like he's hit a building there, though.
Oh no.
I did see a little puff of explosion over near his tank, and I can only imagine that's because he shot something.
Yeah. Well, the cool idea is essentially Power has free reign to farm the Super Conqueror of Fury, because the batchet of Phantom Yamato is, I mean, it's there to cover, but you don't, it wouldn't have the sightline onto the said CS63. So attempt to essentially dump over the damage onto Arthur Zula's VZ55 would be a decent idea. But again, Aussie Noob's position, it's attempting to essentially wedge out the spot where Rupro and Flaming is, which isn't going to really cut it. Snozzle is in basically a snoozing position where, yes, again, you're aiming at Rupro, basically. And the CS63 on hill, not even there to even try to make any sort of rotations because the Kranwagen of Dark Knight is basically holding that whole position rather steadily, and you wouldn't want to bleed out, well, almost 1200 HP worth of damage. So this is so far has been great for comments, albeit you look at the HP, it's bleeding rather rapidly, and this is not a good setup, because now with Zula being half HP, Flaming has been tagged up. This gunfight that Fury about to take could be very much viable.
See whether or not Badgers can dig themselves out of this hole. Fury is getting absolutely slammed as he drives forward, but that's kind of by design. It opens up the door for the Bat Chat, who might have just been shot in the back by Fury. I'm not sure. We'll have to check after the game whether that was some team damage coming through, but already the Badgers down a tank, and that Bat Chat did not get to fire many shots, if any at all. Already, it is not looking good for the Badgers. Comets have lost themselves a tank, though, so it is a bit of an exchange, but I'm waiting to see whether or not that is going to be held on for too long, Cthulhu, because war of attrition, it does still seem to be favoring the Comets.
Yeah, both Crans have, I believe, already clipped. So, yep, they're now being basically free-farmed here. The Kranwagen of Dark Knight is also there. The time is also, by the way, playing a very nice job here, because now with the CS63 of Spencer, well, not much he can do. I mean, he's still on the top of the cliff, and whilst he's just watching his team basically being executed here, and without really any sort of solution, well, that's the first round forfeited basically by Badgers.
And 1 minute left on the clock as well. There was no world really where Badgers was going to find this one an easy task. They actually made it a little closer, I will say, than what I thought they could have. If they might have maybe been able to find a way to get that Bat Chat involved, maybe if Phantom was able to find a better timing or a different angle or something, right? If he was able to get 2 or 3 shots out, maybe it could have been a difference maker. But you'd have to say, on face value, a very convincing victory for the Comets to start this series off, and it kind of happened in the first couple of minutes of the round. So I don't know if that tells us a lot. I mean, in a sense, you know, you kind of, I think, have to wait and see a little bit here, Cthulhu, whether or not that is going to be a really good indication of how this game's going to play out, or if it's just going to be, you know, a bit of bad luck maybe from Badgers, a poor timing, someone screwed up on their push or did something, you know, or they just didn't get themselves in the right positions at the right times, and it was kind of a one-off, right? Maybe Badgers do have a... but obviously that didn't look ideal to start things off, and hopefully that's not going to be the case sort of followed up when we do move over to the second half.
Yeah, it wasn't great, was it? And I could see you guys like, is this over in the first 2 minutes? Now, you say, you know, when we look at how the Badgers are on this map, I think it's like their second best map. They got 75% across the board, both attack and defense. But to me, Cthulhu, that didn't look like a 75% win rate kind of attack there from the Badgers.
Yeah, look, Badgers definitely, felt a little bit almost confused / lost, and what were they trying to do. The Bat Chat of Phantom Yamato definitely felt like a little bit out of place at the beginning of it all. Maybe a certain need to maybe flank around the 9-0 line would have been a much more viable kind of idea, and kind of try to set up some sort of a crossfire there. But overall, you look at the numbers, it's basically been just an unfortunate turnout for one of the Bat Chat players, and kind of the control over the map has been very much lackluster as well. Whereas you look at the defense of Comets, very convincing take off the donut. From there, they had basically vision across majority of the map and the majority of the positions that Badgers had.
Yeah, I think it seemed pretty clear cut to me, Elfish Guy, and it's like it's very early in the night, right? It's only game number 1, but I'm looking for things from the Badgers that make this feel closer than what I kind of feel it's going to be. And it's hard to talk about them like that when they've actually had such a really good season. It's just that the team from Cairns has always just been that one step ahead.
Yeah, and I mean, that's how it's going to be sometimes. I think looking at that, what sort of stuck out to me was it just felt like it was a case of poor timing from the Badgers on their initial crosses, right? The cross from the bat chat into the one line, into that sort of cutout, took a couple of shots. That's sort of out of the ordinary. You wouldn't normally expect to be seeing that, and certainly not something that happens in Pro League very often, really, again, if at all. And even also following suit onto that, the rest of the Badgers kind of trying to push their way up into mid, up onto that hill. You know, obviously the CS63 is kind of getting far and pushing up onto the lighthouse. That's going to happen, but the rest of the team taking shots as well. I'm not sure that is necessarily what should be happening on the attack of Cliff. So it sort of felt like maybe there was a bit of an off timing there for the Badgers. They were maybe a bit slow on their rollout. And I'm just waiting to see what we're going to get from them when they do move over to the defense before I'm going to make the call and say, oh, well, they don't really have a great grasp of Cliff or not. Again, it could have just been, something unfortunate that we didn't catch, or, perhaps something a little bit more unorthodox when it comes to Cliff, but we'll have to wait and see.
They played Cliff 8 times before tonight, so they're obviously picking it, or they want to play this map. They picked it tonight as their pick, right? They got all the way through, so to be fair, the Comets have led it through the pick ban process, but when you're coming out, I can understand why the Badgers pick it. They've got 75% on attack, 75% on defense, but cannot afford, obviously, to come into the grand final and allow your pick to go down that easily. So you could say, hey, well, you're going to win it. You win your defense, you might lose your attack, and that's kind of the status quo quite often for World of Tanks, but you need to at least give it a shot. And it felt to me, Jordan, like maybe, they didn't put themselves in a position where they ever truly really had a shot on the attacking side. They need to not make that same mistake now on the defense.
I mean, the other side of the coin might be as well that if they've played this map a lot during the regular season, then Comets would have had a lot of footage to go back and take a look at and sort of try to understand their tendencies. Now, I think we should touch on this pretty early on in the piece. STRV 103B, it is, one of the kind of go-to strats, I guess, on the defense. Again, you don't tend to see it in the Pro League all that much. Looks like there's a bit of a contest for the hill climb, and maybe neither CS63 is going to go for it. Spencer eating one shot. Apart
curious.
From that, no extra damage done.
Curious that neither of the CSs decided to actually fully commit to the cross, given that I believe in the turbo mode, they still have enough horsepower to actually push through rather quickly through that spot. But this does kind of stall out Spencer's advance, and again, the presence around the position where Dark Knight is with the Batchat, it is a notorious position, even in pubs, where it is just a point of just a very painful approach. Now, the problem is, the VZ of Badgers has already managed to make it to the top of the donut and might just be able to start farming up Rupro's position very, very cleanly, which should force some sort of an action from Comets. But in the position that Comets have actually played themselves, this is great, because they still have the possibility of just completely rerouting at least 2 of their heavy tanks and just say, okay, to hell with it, we'll just roll over. We'll go over the 9 line and just flank around, and well, there's only going to be a striv that is basically going to be a problem to deal with. But in a hold down position, pretty sure the Crown Bargains should be still pretty safe.
Yeah, I actually kind of like the fact that Badgers have gone for this defensive setup, because this is one of those holds that it's almost like a gatekeeper, right? If you can break this hold on Cliff, then all right, then it's time to start thinking about the fact that maybe you're not too bad on the attack. I am seeing in the pip there a little bit of shenanigans going on. Is he stuck? I don't know. Hopefully not.
Door stuck?
Not door. I think it's tank. Tank stuck. Hopefully
Tank
not.
stuck?
Dark Knight in the bat chat, though, looks like he's found a really nice timing here and is going to get a couple of freebies into Fury. Wisely not going to overcommit as well, showing a lot of restraint. It'd be very easy to just drive around that corner and try and get a bit more damage out, but what what he has really achieved is actually pushing Fury into the sightlines of his teammates, and this is starting to go from bad to worse for the Badgers. Dark Knight will continue to clip out. He's going to eat one shot, and he gets a few in. I think he might have actually connected all 5 of those. So a very, very nice clip from the Bat Chat there.
Yeah, great damage from Dark Knight again, once being able to reclaim and force the VZ that easily, leaving Fury on a measly 59 HP. Doesn't really bode too well really here for Badgers, but that has been so far a decent set of trades. I mean, you look at PP Power, gotten a little bit overzealous on the hill, and did cop quite a fair bit of damage as well. So it's very much still workable. Rupro's actually in a position where he could theoretically start picking at Snozzle and start draining him of HP.
They've got to go fast if they don't do anything, Badgers. But the problem is, when they have an STRV, they're essentially playing a 4v5 in mid. And I was going to say, as soon as that Bat Chat is off the reload, the game is over. Dark Knight, he can't really be peaked by the STRV if he's able to play behind these ridges, which is what he's doing. And he is going to be the difference maker. Once that angle is opened up for the Comets, he just gets free farmed to the side of the Badgers. And this is the unfortunate reality of playing an STRV composition. You're kind of relying on Comets to come to you. And if they don't, and you're slowly but surely getting whittled down by crossfire angles and such, there's really nothing that the Badgers can do here. What use is the STRV if he's not firing? And has Comets even given him the opportunity to fire this game? Barely at all.
Yep. Look, on paper, the idea of the Stetsvan has been a decent thought, but again, you have to be a little bit more proactive with that tank to be able to utilize it. You have to be a little bit either playing for those very cheeky camo positions and play for the actual camo, because the tank destroyer can actually afford that kind of play. But the DPM, yeah, look, just not going to be enough to pull out any sort of win. And yeah, look, a quick cheeky 2-0 is pretty much all that there is to it.
Yeah, wow. Comets convincing there on both sides of Cliff. Maybe feel a little bit bad for the Badgers having a tank stuck, perhaps. But I kind of expected more. I'm a big fan of the STRV, Jordan. I love seeing it. But Dark Knight on that Bat Chat caused an absolute ruckus. And the Comets were not letting the Badgers play this one out the way they wanted to.
No, certainly not. I mean, it's kind of one of those things where if you know how to deal with that strategy and that defense, then it is quite easy to break. But if you don't, you can look really bad on the attacking side, right? You can look like you're completely out of ideas if you're not able to crack that one. And you can understand why it would be on face value quite a difficult strategy to deal with. But the way that the Comets played it out was really nicely. And I mean, no donut control at all coming through from the Badgers. It really opened the door up for the Bat Chat to just get a bit of free farm. So, you take advantage of that, of course, if the opportunity does present itself. And that would have been, presumably, a really, really high damage game from Dark Knight. So, anyone that had him in their fantasy team for the B-League Fantasy, I know that's still a thing, will be pretty happy about tonight's proceedings so far. And I think he's actually been one of the better performers as well, as far as Comets have been concerned. So that's kind of good to see, right? You've got your power player playing well, and you've started off with a 2-0 lead. So it feels like a fantastic start to the series for the Comets, and it can only get better really from here.
Yeah, particularly I think when you put them in the Bat Chat as well, it is sometimes a little bit risky, but you can get so much value out of a Bat Chat in this 5v5 format. And you can see Dark Knight up there. I thought he did more than 3K, but clearly not the case. But 3K enough, picking up 3 picks as well. And a great run there on the VZ55 also. So from a team perspective, this Comets lineup, Cthulhu, they seem to be on the ball.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. They are on an absolute ball, on an absolute run. And look, it was relatively expected with the Cliff pick. Yes, whilst the Badgers had a good kind of win rate on them, that smaller percentage of those losses on those picks, I believe, have been given for the majority of it by those Comets. And yeah, the player being stuck as well did not particularly bode too well there for Badgers. And distraction galore. And with Dark Knight being able to claim the position of Donut the way how he did, it was just absolutely clinical. And now going into the second map, look, Sand River is one of the maps that Comets will absolutely love. This is where Dark Knight and Power will have the ability to absolutely thrive, whereas on the side of Badgers, given their general kind of approach to some of those bigger maps to play a very kind of five on and that's it, it won't really bode too well for them.
Yeah, and you can see, if you do look at the fantasy website, it does show that the Comets, I think, have played 4 times, which is not that many times, but still enough, and 100% win rate for the Comets on Sand River, which we should probably note not many teams manage to do well on the attacking side. So they had 2 from 2 on the attacking side of Sand River, which is quite impressive, but for the Badgers, they haven't touched this map at all so far this season. So things looking pretty good right now for the Comets. They are very keen to make their way up from the B League into ANZPL for next season. And if you want to be part of ANZPL finals for this season, we're going to have live finals here at Fortress Melbourne. That's where I am right now. Maybe you can't tell. Like maybe you just thought that Sandman managed to get
the green screen
the
down.
white balance on his print branding much better than last week, but no, that's not the case. Not the case. I am at Fortress, but we're going to be upstairs in the Alienware Arena on June 25, and you can be a part of that. Tickets are on sale now! ! Tickets in chat if you want to find out more. It's going to be a cool event. The last time, Jordan, we had an absolute ball, and you know, it's a bit of a party atmosphere. It's a great community, and I believe that some of the money from the tickets is going to the Game on Cancer charity fundraiser as well. If you have been paying attention to that one's been going absolutely off the hook. I saw J-rated and Karath, more J-rated than Kev, to be honest, doing a lot of fitness challenges on stream the other day. You can still donate to that process, obviously. It's a great charity to support. And I think the ANZCCs are having another 12-hour raid-a-thon tomorrow. So you can still donate to be a part of that. It's been pretty cool. It's been great to see the support, and it's been great to see. Well, I wanted to see Kev do more burpees, Cthulhu, but it was mainly J-rated. So, Kev, when you're at finals, I'm gonna make you do all the ones that you skipped, and made poor J-rated do on your behalf.
Yeah, look, I mean, it was a good stream as well. Getting to see all the fitness being done. I mean, all for the good of charity, and even the auction actually popped off big. Because I mean, we've had I believe the FV215B, the Death Star version, basically go for almost $600 as well.
That's pretty good. I don't know that much about it, but everyone was talking it up, and I heard that it was at 400 like 10 minutes before the end, and then it went super secret, and you could put your last bids on. So $600 from that is pretty cool, and obviously all of that going to charity as well. So very, very exciting. But yeah, if you want to be a part of the ANZPL finals live from Fortress Melbourne, you can do so. I'd love to see you there. We'll be back down in a couple of weeks to take a look at that one. And you won't be sitting in the little streaming booth with me like I am now. We'll be up there in the Alienware Arena. And don't you worry, I'm testing out all the whiskey tonight, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm glad you are. I mean, what's on the menu? I don't know. I guess
there's a lot available actually. And I definitely haven't been ordering it all to my streaming booth via the little QR code. Table service. Love to see it. To see it. Yeah.
They didn't end up getting Spencer out of that, did they? Yeah, that's
no, he just got... I don't even know how we got there. So he tried to get up the hill, right? He tried to get up to the donut, the two CS63 sitting together. But I don't know how we got from almost going up the donut to ending up sideways.
Yeah, I want to say that's one of those things that doesn't happen in ANZPL because the players are better, but, I mean, as Napalm showed us
I was going to say, on clip as well, by the way.
Yeah, exact same map, same tank too, by the way. It was in a CS63 there, Spencer, and I believe that was what Napalm was, right? Maybe I'm wrong. I think maybe I'm wrong. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Doesn't really matter. The fact that it's happened 2 weeks in a row, someone's kind of got their tank stuck or flipped or who knows on the same map. Not ideal. Not ideal. But anyway, I'm looking forward to finals, Ben. I wore a banana suit last time. Stole it off one of the observers.
Are you going to do it again?
Hope you got it back. If it's there, I'll do it again. Yeah, for sure.
Well, maybe we can color your hair as well. Because I heard
Surely.
that I heard that Kev and Jay Rated are both getting their hair colored.
I would actually be down to have my hair colored, but not like some crazy color. You know what I mean? Like,
Well, people only
reckon I
pay
could pull
for
off
it
silver.
if it's what you got to turn up, and it's just like, oh, we just a slightly darker shade of brown for Elfish Guy, please.
Well, see, the thing is, I'm not part of the charity drive. You know, my hair coloring is not part of that deal, so it doesn't really matter. Like, no one's putting money towards coloring my hair, so it doesn't matter what color it ends up being.
I
hair
would put a
and the
bit
diet,
towards it.
the
Can I
winner.
just say, if I had the opportunity, I would put it.
I'll tell you what, I'm doing my best job of making it silver on its own, so it doesn't really need that much help at this point in time anymore. It's been every time I look in the mirror, man. Oh jeez.
Must
Anyway.
be the stressful life you live, Jordan, where you wake up every day, play video games, then talk about it for a couple of hours and get paid for it. I can understand how your hair is going grey very quick. We will, if you're following along, we'll be into game very, very shortly. We're just fixing up one last thing, and we'll jump into the second part of this B-League Grand Final. If you're just joining us, this is our second last week of the ANZPL. We've been running all season long. I know that's kind of obvious. If you get to the end of the season, you've probably been running all season long. But it's been a massive season. We ran a double round robin with 6 teams. That's an awful lot of regular season play. 10 weeks. Then we kicked off finals last week with 1v2 and 3v4. And we thought this new finals format, Jordan, I talked it up. I said, this is going to be the finals format. It's the format. It means all the games are going to be good. And last week was a little bit of a surprise. The 4-0s, the fact that the Scorpions kind of underperformed. And I think that's going to be a big one for us tonight.
That will be a big talking point for me, definitely. I'm going to be looking for better from them tonight. I'm going to be looking to see whether or not Panthers can kind of continue the same form that they had last week as well. You know, was it a flash in the pan? Were they able to do that because Conquerors came in and looked a little bit weaker? Are they going to be able to do it against a stronger opponent? I don't think there's any argument really that Scorpions should be a bit more of a tougher task than the Conquerors were. So lots of questions to be answered, but we still have the B-League game ahead of us, and I think some stepping up to do here on Sand River as well.
Yeah, let's be real. Okay, the Comets have been playing well on Sand River all season long, Cthulhu, but it's Sand River, and it's the finals, right? If ever there was a time that someone could go 1-1 on a map, the Badgers need to bring it out now. They need to find, at minimum, a defensive side win here on Sand River, a map that's quite tough to attack on, but I think the Comets might have other ideas. Oh, no.
I mean, oh boy.
Never mind.
Yeah. Look, I'm looking at the lineup again. Comets, once again, I mentioned, Dark Knight and PP Power going absolutely hard here on Sand River. They have the perfect tanks for that. 2 bad chats but Dark Knight was basically the key player last round on the cliff. And I reckon now doubling up that power could be absolutely big. Altanzula, Flaming, and Rupro, bringing in the E5 and the Crown and the CS63, could be a really nice kind of mishmash of just all sorts of playstyles. And from the way how we so far see, a very expanded play where they not yet fully indicating where they want to aggress, and that's a beautiful thing here for Comets, because they don't want to obviously play into the same playstyle that Badgers throughout the whole general season have been looking to do.
This is a very interesting setup from Badgers. I'm a little bit concerned that they're giving up a bit too much map control. Flaming in that Kranwagen is going to take 1 shot of damage on the cross here, but the closer he gets toward the top of that mound, he's going to realize that there's not too much going on the other side of that, and actually he's having a bit of a reasonable time in these exchanges. The 2 VZ55s, they've kind of been held in a pocket here. They're going to be waiting to see if they can catch anyone off guard, but I don't know. mean, I'm looking at the two Batchats working their way through the southern side of the map right now. Comets, it kind of feels like have full control of the map. And again, Badgers is almost banking on or hoping on the fact that Comets might drive into, their position that they're ready to farm them from. And when you're going to do something like that, the Badgers right now, they don't have a huge amount of information, right? They don't know what's happening really down south. They've spotted the Kranwagen, but they don't know where the E5 is, for example. CS63's gone dark as well. And the VZ55s are, I mean, in a sense, kind of sitting ducks. It kind of just depends on whether or not Comets is able to sniff them out or not.
Yeah. With Ozinov actually being lit up here, and I believe PP Power did not get lit up at all, this gives a great advantage. I mean, look at this, ready to be clipped out.
He's wondering where he's going to be farmed from. Yeah, they've all they've 1-2-3'd him there, really. Unfortunately, a couple of the shots maybe didn't connect where they needed to. And that one from Dark Knight's gone sailing into who knows where. Batchat gun tings. I think Aussie Noob's pretty lucky to get out of there with 4 sets of ones to his name.
Yeah. It's a little bit rough here for Aussie Noob, because technically his position here will be basically crucial to even get any sort of indication as to what's happening on the south. And the moment he goes down, or the moment he has to back away and rendezvous with the rest of his team, say goodbye to any sort of presence around there. Plus, now this is basically open to technically being double capped by the two Batchats, but again, Aussie Noob being in a Batchat himself should still be able to have enough camo to reposition himself back into the bushes and to still be able to bleed at least some sort of damage. Because, I mean, you look at the setup, that has been so far at least the case on the cliff. Both Badges and Comets, they do trade relatively evenly in the health pool at the beginning of the match. But when it comes down to actually getting the frags, that's where Badges fall through. And so, I mean, you look at it right now, yes, the double VZs are basically now going out, and the CSs are on the move, but so are the Batchats, and so are them looking to farm it all up. PP Power right now, utilizing Flaming as basically the bait, is looking to get rid of either Aussie Noob or tag up either Fury and Snozzle to absolutely critical amount of HP.
Well, Flaming should almost be able to deal with Aussie Noob on his own. There's extra shots even coming through from the Batchats right now. And the VZ55s, have they maybe over-rotated? They're not able to really find those shots in. They do actually get a couple across onto the PP Power Batchat. That is kind of big news, I'd actually say, for the Badgers. Being able to trade that 1-for-1 is about as good as you can hope for. That said, the VZ55's now on the reload, and that opens up an opportunity maybe for Comets to start to look for a little bit more map control, and they're also getting that cap pressure down on the 1 flag, which is going to be quite difficult now to recontest with the Kranwagen obviously set up where it is. It's got a nice ridge to play from. Spencer in the CS63 may be able to find an angle and cause a bit of a problem for the Comets, though.
Rupro needs to push up as well, help with the cap as well, because Spencer is about to start farming up the Kranwagen of Flaming. That's where the VZs are about to go, and even a singular one will be able to basically clip him out if they get a nice high roll. And now with Phantom Yamato starting to actually go full YOLO right now, E5 will need to farm the damage here. He will be the one to make the plays, and in comes the dump. There goes Flaming. This is not looking particularly too good for Comets, but now they're all in the open. Fury is 500 HP, and right now for E5, he's full HP as well. Rupro is about to rotate over. Dark Knight falling back. So this right now, as long as E5 can bail out, as long as E5 can stay here and still, well, keep on kicking on, this is going to be fine for Comets.
This is looking fantastic for the E5. I mean, what could you really, what more could you really want apart from 2 VZ55s that are now more or less going to be on reload? Maybe they've got a shot or 2 left. They're not going to finish him off. They're not going to kill him. He can hold down his W button and finish off Fury. And then he can kind of follow suit onto Snozzle. Maybe rushes a shot there. And so Snozzle's going to try and take the opportunity to get some damage in. And we'll be able to do so. You just have to take a little bit of a deep breath here, Athrun, and clean this one up pretty comfortably. Snozzle, of course, on the reload. Dark Knight is going to be there to help out if necessary. Good damage goes into Dark Knight, but I don't know that Snozzle's going to get the reload off fast enough to finish them off. You can't tell with the mod, but end of the day, it is now a 2-on-3, and it's 2 CS63s that have to get the job done. On the defense, though, they might be able to escape. They might be able to survive. think it comes down to Rupro getting some more damage done here, and Dark Knight hopefully being able to chase 1 or 2 down.
Yeah, Rupro needs to make sure that he doesn't go down here. Already the loader is down, the spotter is down, or rather the commander is away. And Phantom Yamato should be able to farm it all up. Yeah, this is looking like
missing
Badgers
shots
might just
on
be able to win it out.
They missed the shots on Spencer. He got over the ridge, so he's in quote-unquote safety for the moment. Dark Knight, he's got to make sure that he doesn't overcommit to this, get himself in a crossfire where he gets farmed. I think he just has to make sure he deals with Spencer. The E5, of course, is going to make it to do some damage onto Phantom. And Dark Knight, he'll need to get this done with the one shot that he does have there. 3 left in the clip.
18
It's enough.
seconds.
17 seconds left. Well, I say it's enough. It's actually not enough to finish off Phantom Yamato. That E5 needs to get involved, and he's not going to get there in time, I dare say.
Yeah, this is not good. And the finisher as well on Dark Knight will be the end of it all. 3 seconds. Yeah, that's a big oversight here for Comets. And look, whilst it did get quite close, play for time ended up being the play.
Yeah, it certainly did. The Badgers coming through with the goods at the end. I was worried for a little while there. I was like, have they forgotten to play? They're playing the defensive side. They can play for time. I felt like maybe they could have stretched that out a little bit longer, but in the end, Cthulhu, they do enough. It doesn't matter how you win. Doesn't matter how close it is. You get the 1 point on the board, and the Badgers managed to drag one back, even if it is on the defensive side of Sand River.
Yeah, I mean, to me, it kind of looked like there was going to be a world where Comets would walk away with the win there, but I think a couple of maybe rush shots, again, I'm kind of looking at the moment where Spencer's able to get over the hill. If one shot kind of connects there, then game over. The E5 in the 2-on-1 against the VZ55s when they're on reload, maybe rushing the shots a little bit too much there as well. And these are easy things to say when we're sitting here and talking about it and looking at it on a screen. But
we'll get them. I'm sure they're making a list right now. Things
Yeah.
that Coach Elfish Guy tells me that I should do better.
No, but the thing is, the difference is if you're playing in ANZPL and you're, and you're expecting to beat teams, then these are the kinds of things that you have to look at and sort of make sure those are shored up, because inevitably for one of these two teams making it through into ANZPL, they're going to have to go up against better opponents than the Badgers or the Comets, right? They're going to be going against the Sentinel. They're going to be going against the Scorpions, and they're not going to let you get away with things like that.
No, the Badgers probably don't win that match against most of those ANZPL teams. So certainly something to note, and obviously having that E5, which, to be fair, Cthulhu, he did a ton of damage, but he wasn't where he needed to be in the end when it mattered.
Yeah, wasn't there, and look, it's sad to see that. Well, whilst the initial setup was all looking nice and pretty there for Comets, ultimately, yeah, they got a little bit maybe too flustered, too in their own heads with the way how they set things up. And yeah, look, I've mentioned before that that the kind of the 5-manning may be a little bit difficult, but look, suppose the group play still worked out there for Badgers.
Yeah, it did. But I have concern. This could, to be fair, the start of not a full reverse sweep, but the 0-2 down, lose both sides of the map you picked. For this one to really change up for me, I want to see the Badgers bring it on attack, even if they don't come out with a win. Jordan, talk us through the replays.
Yeah, also this, I kind of wanted to have a look at it. It just sort of felt like maybe 2 or 3 of the shots. See, that one there, that's really unfortunate, that last shot. But I think like 2 or 3 of the shots that were going into that initial bat chat just didn't connect, or went wayward for one reason or another. And that's a little bit of bad luck on the behalf of the Comets, at least as far as the bat chat shots are concerned. But ultimately, it sort of felt like there was a few moments there where Comets probably could have, just kind of cleaned things up a little bit better, and they would have actually won the round, right? It was a 5% difference or a 10% difference. Maybe 1 or 2 more shots do go through, and that's a game in the favor of the Comets. They almost played it perfectly. Unfortunately, that's sometimes just the way that it's going to be, and it does give a bit of an advantage back over to the Badgers. But ultimately, attacking side on Sand River, we've talked about how difficult it is to get a win on it, and credit to the Comets for making it as close as they did.
Yeah, look, this is where the tricky bit comes in. This is where we can sort of get an understanding maybe how much preparation have the Badgers done to this. Because I want to see something cool right here, right now. on the attacking side of Sand River. If we don't, then look, I'm done.
Yeah, I suppose the onus now is on Commerce to make sure that they do actually win this defensive side, because that would be pretty egregious if they were to drop it.
Yeah, so about the Badgers' play. A YOLO push so far, what looks to be at least for the 2 flag. And, I mean, I'm not opposed to that. We've seen that a few times. Well, not the YOLO push, but rather a full-blown concentrated push towards one of the flags on Sand River. It has a bit of a 50-50 kind of success rate to my memory, where some teams do end up rather spectacularly failing at it, and some teams manage to actually make it work to a certain degree. Here, the position between Flaming and Arthur, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not particularly too sold, because right now Rupro is about to actually be full-on sent upon.
Yeah, but he does have the backup of the STB1 there as well. Dark Knight does have an angle on that, and even now you can see the Kranwagen flipping out into Fury and Snozzle. He's connected a couple of shots. 2 out of 3, that ain't bad. We'll take it.
Yeah. Yeah, well, look, I mean, this is still relatively workable, and yeah, the STB should be able to, slow it all down, and you can already see. I mean, even it would be a bit of an odd reference, but I mean, even in pubs, whoever does decide to push up here, going over this very ridge to get into what possibly could be an absolutely deadly crossfire, it is going to be a grave mistake. And given the fact that Fury already bled almost half of his health pool, plus Snozzle gets absolutely Scapola sniped into oblivion, this is not good. Look at this. Dark Knight is already on 2k damage just off the back of that.
Dark Knight as well. You know, not even just the 2k damage, I should say. There's a massive opportunity for more as well. Like, this is only really early in the game. And these guys are continuing to play with him. It's kind of like playing a game of peekaboo or whack-a-mole, and I don't know if that's a game I'd like to be playing right now.
Hey, I mean, it depends on which perspective you're looking at, because if you're looking at it from the perspective of Badgers, yeah, look, getting continuously bonked on the head is not particularly one of the most exciting things, but for comments, yeah, they're living it. They're enjoying it thoroughly, namely Dark Knight. He's just farming up here. Rupro and PP Power here are more so just as the safeguard in case Badgers finally, crack the nerve and just decide to say, heck it, push, full on, full send. And I mean, with the fact that there's a Kranwagen who would try to insinuate any sort of fight, I think that's kind of going to end up being the case. Spencer is way somewhere out there in the abyss, and he won't get to actually join the fight until later date.
Yeah, I mean, Badgers have kind of got themselves into a very similar position as to what we saw in that very first round of Cliff. They've taken some positioning, but they've eat so many shots in doing so that it almost feels like whatever they do from this point onwards is going to ultimately result in an unfavorable fight. You've got Spencer now on the cap trying to just put a bit of pressure on Comet, and I kind of like this as a maneuver. I think of anything, this is about as good as it's going to get as a decision for the Badgers. But it's another one of those scenarios where as long as Comets don't throw this away, they should have this one in the bag. And they're setting the STB1 just to get that reset. There'll be no concerns about that at all. Reset already secured. So pressure's off the Comets' shoulders immediately.
Yeah. So far, it's all nice and solid. I mean, you look at the VZs as well, completely drained of their HP potential, only being on 1.1k health points. And meanwhile, Flaming's actually bleeding quite a fair bit of damage. And right now, Aussie Noob, if he decides to overpush, it would have had a perfect opportunity to absolutely just finish off Flaming, which would have actually generated a really good opening for the Badgers to actually go in for the push, given that, again, start of the game so far has been good. The bleed, though, has not been particularly sensational. And now in a double push against Dark Knight, yeah, one would hope that PP Power has the gun ready.
Phantom. A couple of shots, but this is, I don't know, this is a bit weird for the Comets, isn't it? I think they look like they were in a really good position, but now starting to take some fights that, if they don't go their way, could still swing this back in the favor of the Badgers. Spencer, he's skedaddling. He's trying to get out of there. Fury's doing much the same thing, but in a different direction. He's driving at his opponents rather than away from. PP Power in that E5, though, This is another great
This is
chance
great
for him to just farm a huge amount of damage. Dark Knight in that STV1 continues to be impressive. He might be on for a 4K damage game if he doesn't go down to that CS63 here, because he has been at the forefront of every single fight for the Comets, and now theoretically shouldn't really drop. Phantom Yamato might have just found an angle, and he does manage to bring it back to 4-on-4 for just a moment. Now it's actually numbers advantage to the Badgers, but the issue is the HP deficit is so astronomical. And the fact that they're on the attack as well, they're going to have to keep trying to push, keep trying to find advantages here, Badgers. I just wonder if they don't have enough rope.
Yeah, look, this is not looking particularly too great as well. Only 2 minutes do remain. Aussie Noob getting into the gunfight against Altanzula's S-Conk, and there we go, completely bonked out of existence. Snozzle will try to burst down Rupro, but that clip is not going to be enough. Yes, it does leave him on 299 HP, but that is now opening a 20-second window for Rupro to basically farm up Snozzle for 0 repercussions. Unless Fury is able to get some sort of a crossfire, but again, that's not particularly viable, nor it is possible. With CS gone, yeah, this is basically now a 3rd point for Comets, which makes it a really confident scoreline for them to go into map number 3, which I do believe it is going to be Muravanka.
Yeah, and that's not a good sign for the Badgers at all. Muravanka, traditionally one of those 1-1 maps. So,
Last time
down
actually,
the barrel of a defeat.
Comets actually 2-0'd Badgers. Allegedly.
On Muro. Well, that's
Muro.
even worse of a tale. For
That's even
Badgers
worse.
then, isn't it?
Yeah, that's the last thing that you would want to see. But yeah, look, albeit at least according to the sources, it should have been a 1-1. But regardless of that, the statistics are certainly still there and will be haunting Badgers even further, as probably their idea would have been there to, well, get the dubs in the early and then, well, try to avoid Muro and Hibbles.
Look, I'm a big Muro fan, is all I'm going to say. But I can understand why some of the teams maybe don't want to play it, but we will be seeing it tonight in this B League Grand Final with the Comets now. 3-1 is the scoreline in this best of 7. So they're one battle away, Jets, from going home as B League champions. One battle from taking the Bulldogs spot in the ANZPL, which is a pretty big thing. Jordan, like normally you're supposed to, if you win this, then you play against the team from Premier League, and you go head to head, and if you win, you go through, and if you lose, you stay where you are. But from what I hear, the Bulldogs won't be participating as a team for next season. So we're going regional to decide which team will replace them as the Queensland rep.
I mean, it's looking at the moment like it's going to be the Comets, doesn't it? It kind of feels like they are a cut above. It sort of feels like their initial setups are a little bit better. They have a good read of the game, and I would almost make the argument that this could have probably been a 4-0. Badgers, I felt like, got away with a little bit in their win. It was obviously a defense win on Sand River as well, so I'm going to take that with a grain of salt, very similar to what I would with a defense win on Muravanka.
Yeah.
At the moment, it definitely feels to me like Comets is going to walk away with this series. No questions
They're looking
asked.
much better. That's the reality is, and I think sometimes that will happen, and that's the benefit of that promo relegation. Set up Cthulhu that if you do have a standout team, they do have that opportunity to come through, and it's not like you're just ripping players out of them and feeding them up. You can actually bring through a full squad, which is very, very cool. Any takeaways, Cthulhu, from this scoreboard?
Honestly, just mainly the fact that the ability of Comets to be able to have those relatively quick rotations between certain positions is definitely kind of their winning formula. The fact that we've seen STB basically move around from the ridgeline of the mountains at the A0 to down to the 2 flag and back up again, whilst also having PB power on the E5 keep being able to farm up. It kind of worked out perfectly well, especially against what Badgers were bringing in, and it certainly has been more or less the expectation, it seems, from the Comets, albeit certain plays have still been a bit of a thorn in the side of their performance. But overall, I gotta say, their positioning worked out perfectly, and being able to play across those kind of ridge lines has been basically freelo.
It's kind of felt like that. I will agree. It has kind of felt
And I hate
like
to call it that.
Yeah, well, it's you can't win everything. The reality is here, but the Badgers, they still have a shot. They still have a shot, and it doesn't take long for a team to pick up a couple of quick wins, even on a map like Muravanka, Jordan. And you can get that momentum going. And I think Tanks is can be a particularly momentum-based game. And we can put everything else aside. We can put, the current score and all those things and the results of the rest of the season. The reality is that right now you have two teams sitting in a grand final of their league, and they both have the opportunity potentially to go up to ANZPL, which is such a huge thing. So we've seen them win one game, and what's to say they can't string two more together? It's
100%. Yeah.
All the other work they've done, it comes down to now. It really just, it doesn't matter how they went for the rest of the season. They've done what they needed to do to get here. They just need to go that one step further.
Look, it's Muravanka. Normally it's a 1-1 map, but what if Comets have someone that flips their tank on the attack? Or, something happens, right? Comets could potentially drop their attacking side for whatever reason.
Yep.
It's going to take something, but, there is a world where something goes wrong for the Comets on the attack. You win your defense, and all of a sudden you're in the tiebreaker.
And we saw it. We saw it last week, right? We saw the 2-0.
A game can be won and lost on the slightest of things, right? Scorpions, you could have made the argument they lost their series on a flip tank, right? So let's just not get too far ahead of ourselves with this one in particular.
Yeah, well, last week was full of surprises, and at least we don't have, we're not going to have 2-4-0s tonight, that's for sure. We've locked that one in right now, but I kind of get excited on maps like Muravanka that are so heavily one-sided, in this case defensively sided, because it means when you come to attack, you almost have nothing to lose, and you can come out with something quirky. You can try and do some aggressive sort of strat like we saw from the Panthers last week, and that is what we're going to need to see here from the Badgers. Badgers on attack. They need to win this to stay in the B-League Grand Final. The Comets, they're on defense. That's the easy side of Muravanka, and if they pick up this one battle, through to ANZPL.
Big one. Big one here for the Comets, and of course for the Badgers. It's Comets on the defense, so you're going to have to get through the tougher side first, Badgers, if you want to make this one through to the tiebreaker. Blaming that Kronwagen, already spotting Fury out. Wayward shot, not going to connect, and that'll give him a little bit of map positioning, but it is going to cost him a fair chunk of his HP as another shot does come through, maybe from the E5. Not an ideal start for the Badgers, but they've got some positioning at least.
I believe we've seen something similar, I believe actually from Conquerors last week, where they tried to push up at the very same position but it was, it was Panthers that pushed it from a polar opposite position, and it drawn a lot of attention. But this very spot where Fury is, unfortunately, the tank is a little bit too chunky to actually fit it behind the house. So yeah, already being farmed up like this, not particularly the brightest position, not the best one to be working around. And yeah, it's so far not looking particularly great. Not the best spot, albeit again, we've seen a number of times Comets establish initial position, and then from there on, it just kind of all goes downwards.
Yeah, Aussie Noob's going to try and make that wrap around the back of the map as well, but he's going to get spotted out in that attempt too. So he can go about as far as he has, but beyond this point, it's risky business because you start to open yourself up for shots coming through from the H3 hill. And that's exactly what he's going to be answered with, so I don't know what the options are starting to look like right now for the Badgers. Obviously, Aussie Noob, he's going to try and dig out Dark Knight's position. Maybe that's kind of like his only recourse. But I don't think spending time down on the southern side of the map is going to be particularly beneficial for the Badgers, to be honest.
Yeah, and maybe if he would have been able to, sneak past the Batchat through the K line, maybe through the bushes by some absolute miracle, not be spotted amidst that rotation, maybe that would have been kind of another good shout to really play around. But again, trusting into the camo system to actually work out in your favor against a Batchat that has been already been able to outspot you doesn't particularly really bode too well. So now when looking at the setups, Badgers kind of got themselves stuck. And I mean, no pressure whatsoever from the town or from the middle. No pressure around the forest. No ability to wedge out safely this Batchat unless it's Dark Knight himself that makes that mistake, and I highly doubt that that's going to be the case. So for Badgers, I feel like comes, I think, 3 minutes until the end of the round. I think they will just try to full on send it with what tanks they have minus the Batchat.
Dark Knight hasn't had to do anything this game so far. Just sat in a bush.
I mean, half of the time, that's all you need to do, really.
On the defense in Muravanka, maybe you're right. Yeah, it's a very default setup from the comments. They haven't done anything particularly out of the ordinary or, you know, too overeager or aggressive or unorthodox. And it's worked like a charm, really.
Yeah, playing for that sniping position between E5 and the Eskong basically covers all your bases on the town. And if anyone decides to overpush the hill, and with Spencer already actually full sending it, this might be the case here. Now that Rupro is starting to relocate as well, once the actual push over happens, this is where the problems will start to compound. But I say that actually Snozzle and Spencer may have found themselves a little bit of a safe spot. But again, trying to overpeak onto Flaming, you get shot by the E5 and the Eskong. You try to peek at the E5 Eskong, the Rupro and Flaming will farm you. So it's a bit of a kind of 50-50 kind of play here, I feel.
Look, it is a safe spot where they are, but they're going to have to move out of that safe spot to try and start doing some damage pretty quick smart. 3 minutes left on the clock. I'd say about 2.5 is where you really need to be going. If you're not going at 2.5, you've left it too late. So there's not that much time left for Badgers to play with. They're going to put a tank on the cap. That's Phantom in the Super Conk. Snozzle will join him. 2 flags. 2 caps on the flag, I should say. 50 seconds. This is not impossible to reset, though, for the Comets, particularly when they've given up a lot of the control of the village. Now, they do still have Aussie Noob kind of watching for this push from Dark Knight, so it might cost him a fair bit of HP to get this reset if he has to end up being the one to do it. But end of the day, you'd expect someone like Flaming, or maybe that Super Conqueror of Rupo, to be able to just push in and try to find the angle, and that's exactly what has happened. So, reset achieved, and now we know Comets can do that. And also, in the meanwhile, Aussie Noob has been found out. Batchat on Batchat violence, and it's going to go the way of Dark Knight. He did have a massive HP advantage, and that is one step on the ladder toward ANZPL for the Comets. 1 tank down out of 5, 4 to go.
Yeah, with Arthur Zula and PP Power as well making that rotation, Spencer is in a whole lot of problems. Flaming is about to be collapsed onto, and he's keeping them nice and preoccupied, as well as that the S-Conk should be there to provide the crossfire as well. Full 3-set, but you look at Phantom Yamato, 682 HP, 1,030 for Snozzle, 1,400 for Spencer as well. This is all falling apart, and Badgers are just possibly already starting to, well, compound with the idea that, well, that this is it.
I have to say so. Snozzle, Spencer, unfortunately, won't be lasting too much longer. It is Snozzle with that last man standing-esque attempt, but a 1-on-5 in a game like World of Tanks, it's not possible, and Badgers will be knocked out. It'll be Comets to go through to the ANZPL.
Congratulations to the Cairns Comets. They've had a fantastic season. I think we can all agree that this team has been the standout, gents, for what has been a pretty good season of the ANZ B League, to be honest. Some exciting games, but just that one level above, perhaps, Jordan, that they've a little bit better than everyone else. And team from Cairns, hashtag we back.
Indeed, indeed. Very, very solid stuff from them. I mean, they looked really, really good today. And to me, that's a good sign. I think the fact that they've been able to, pretty comfortably get the better of an opponent in the B League final makes you think that that jump into ANZPL might not be as much of a rude awakening for them as it could be.
Were Comets in? Comets were in ANZPL originally?
Yes, but no one from this roster.
No one from this team. So by name only and by great camo color.
Yeah.
Best camo, by the way, can I just say, of everyone. And it's great to have them back.
And we're gonna have to remember how to say cans. Is it cans or cans
Cans.
or cans? I just say cans, but then I'm
Cans.
kind of like, well, that's like CANS.
Yeah, but that's how you say it as a true Queenslander. Cans.
And we are Queenslanders, so
We are indeed. So
Put the foot down. You're gonna have to learn it, Cthulhu. Cans.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Hands.
Cans.
Cans.
What's the standout here? We have a look. Look, the reality I think here is that I was happy to see Cthulhu that the Badgers managed to work that one through. They were in the game for a little while, but maybe they left it a little bit late, and maybe they just didn't commit when they needed to, even though they had tanks in the game for quite a while. Didn't even necessarily really look like they were going to be able to pull off the victory.
Yeah, look, I mean, it felt like, again, a little bit of an overcommitment, especially when they decided to full send all three of their heavy tanks that were on middle towards the flag. It felt like they already basically kind of closed the gates behind them. They couldn't really fall back. They couldn't really rework or try to fall back from any of their positions. The fact that basically the majority of their attack was lying on the shoulders of Aussie Noob in a bad chat. Maybe the pressure ended up getting to him. Maybe it's just the fact that they didn't foresee the fact that Dark Knight would just decide to go for a quick ring around the Rosie and just essentially frag out Ozinu, which basically closed the deal. The S-Conk as well of Rupro held the crossfire perfectly, kind of from there on out. It has been just a frustration upon frustration, really, for Badgers, because you know that Muro, you could really make a play here. They could have gone for, say, even the, a push through the forest, which has also been backed up by the push through at least parts of the town. Maybe put the bat chats around there for some camo, but ultimately, yeah, it's once again, it's been kind of their key way of just going all in or nothing, and it bit back at them.
Yeah, ended up with, unfortunately, with nothing there. So, look, commiserations to the Bundaberg Badgers, but knowing how they went this season, it does put them in good stead for the next season, the ANZ BL, particularly knowing that the comments are out and they won't have to deal with them next time around. My question is, how good are the comments going to be up against some of the better teams in the region? I'm not 100% sure where they're going to sit. I reckon they've definitely got some experience there, Jordan. I think that, what we saw from them this season was pretty good. But as you said before, you can't allow yourself to make those mistakes that saw teams like the Badgers, pick up that defensive side win when maybe they could have got away with it. Nevertheless,
they're going to come in with a lot to prove. So hopefully they're going to put in their work then, and we'll have to see what they can do when they do make it into the ANZPL.
Yeah, I'm keen to see. And look, going to have to do Queensland proud because no one else is at the moment, right, Bulldogs? Anyway, we are done with the B-League Grand Final. Congratulations to the Cairns Comets coming out on top. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, the big one for tonight, we're going to find out who's going head-to-head with the Sentinels in the ANZPL Grand Final. Is the Scorpions up against the Panthers? And only one team's going to make it through. We'll see you soon.
I think there's been some interesting veto decisions made by the Scorpions. I'm sure they've tried to change things up, and that's an interesting decision from Nate Palmer as well. I'm not sure what he's done that for, but hopefully there's a reason why he's chosen to drive his tank upside down.
But yeah, look, I was just about to cite the win rates on all of those maps for Scorpions. It's either 50 or below, and that's not a good start.
Is it too late to change my prediction for Sentinels?
And
I don't think Scorpions can win from here. I mean, JT, he was out in the middle of no man's land. He was trying to push Nate Palmer over, and obviously he got pretty farmed. The Sentinels, they're going to be laughing. I mean, what can you really do in that kind of a situation as the Scorpions? I think you kind of have to look at that and say, there's not much we could do about this game. You cannot let this one tilt you. You just have to, you can only laugh, right, in a game like this.
Yeah, the moment they back out of middle, they get shot by the return. The moment they try to push, it's a crossfire between double Cran and Rainbow's CS63. And it seems like the call has been made to actually go for the full overpush to try to bully Wymo out of that position. But Cindy, I'm assuming, is also on a clip, but just about to come off it. So the moment Russian is clipping, this is where Cindy needs to perform.
mean, this is a horrible fight for Scorpions to be taking. Double Kranwagen in mid are able to just completely bully everyone in the center of the map. Great crossfires were established by the Sentinels as well, and I mean, you've got Aussie in a relatively healthy CS63. He went for a bit of a wrap around toward the 2 flag, but he's kind of a non-factor at this point. It was, this almost looked like a counter-strat from the Sentinels. Napalmer kind of looks up the creek without a paddle. He's gone around the corner, and I don't know that he knew whether or not those E100s were there. This is looking awful for the Scorpions. JT is going to try and salvage it with some damage in onto Cindy, and of course the E100 of Knight is going to try and assist with some damage onto Wymo, but end of the day, Scorpions are falling to bits. Hopefully for the Scorpions, Russian is going to be coming off the reload shortly, and it looks like that's going to be the case. So he might be able to dump a clip into Dell and then scurry off. But even in the meanwhile, you can see Knight and Aussie are struggling in their engagement as well against the IS-4 and the Super Conqueror. I think Aussie's probably not going to have a very fun time of it, to be honest, in a 1-on-2. I mean, yeah, there's some low HP tanks on the other side of that engagement, and he is in an E100. So if he can angle his tank well, if he can pen his shots, maybe he can get some good damage down, but ultimately it is just a little bit too much to handle. Knight is also down to a 1-shot. What is the point of even trying to get a reset here?
I mean, not even for the reset. I would assume just try to maybe farm up the last bits of damage. But yeah, at this point, no chance at all. No shot.
Still, HP numbers are looking relatively even. The only concern for me now is that Wymo is starting to get relatively low on HP. The same can be said for Napalmer and maybe JT as well. Whoever loses the first tank in this engagement, or the first couple of tanks if they're untraded, is going to ultimately lose the battle. Guns in the game, very, very important.
And finally, well, Rainbow just has to keep himself alive for as long as possible. Unfortunately, that's not the case, but already Dell, we already have, I believe, Wymo as well, just getting to that kind of 3k damage point. So right now, Dell needs to stay alive as much as he can and allow Cindy to farm up Russian.
Wymo's having a really good game here, and it's just not looking like it's coming together at all for the Scorpions, is it? 2 players left alive. They found themselves in a massive crossfire. As soon as Russian starts to run away from Cindy, he gets an extra angle in there. Wymo was already a second ancillary angle, and that is going to be Sentinels absolutely crushing the Scorpions tonight. A 4-0. Potentially, they're just going to try to overmatch Twit in that 277. They knew where he was early on in the piece, and I did say he looked a bit isolated. As I've mentioned, he has the backup of Lightning Man in that Kranwagen, but I'm not sure how much that's really going to help him out. He is now in what amounts to almost a 1-on-3, 1-on-4. A lot of damage done on the cross to those Conquerors tanks, but they have found the opening pit. And this is really impressive, the way the Conquerors are being able to work their way through the map, find angles, isolate targets. That's 2 tanks now that they've taken down one by one. And they have, to an extent, not been punished for it. Yes, they've taken damage, Cthulhu. They haven't lost a tank yet, and guns in the game is so important.
Now this is where things might start to get dicey, and the lineup shot is there. It is a finisher as well into the Kran. 2+2 is only 26 HP remaining.
Well, Whippet just has to now try to survive. He's really got to try to play this one out slow, but ultimately that Kranwagen on the reload. Lightning Man 1 second away. He's going to start to clip out into the side of Whippet, and of course that will be that. Whippet is down and out, and the Conquerors, after a good start, after having the tank advantage 3-on-5, it's that HP deficit that starts to get the better of them. Meru Turnip is going to have to go massive right now. He's in that STB1. He had the HP. He knows Lightning Man's on the reload, and he had to try to get some damage out, but has he bitten off a little more than he can chew? That is not a favorable trade at all. Louis in the bat chat, available with a full clip reloaded, but can't fire a single shot. And the Panthers playing this one out to perfection. I say a bit of a weird game already, though, as we get a very early engagement. Whippet, what is going on? He's out in the middle of nowhere. Definitely wasn't expecting that timing from the Panthers, and immediately you start to wonder, can Panthers actually get a win here on the attack? That's about the way you'd want to start. They are, however, getting farmed by the Super Conquerors. Goober in the bat chat is going to go chasing Bluey, see if he can get a bit of damage out here.
And the health advantage is still actually workable here. Lightning Man.
Oh,
no
the
way.
fire.
No, that's a tilter. That's a turbo tilter, one could even say, for Bluey.
I mean,
hopefully Whippet will be able to basically hold off the push, but it doesn't look like the case. JS as well on the flank is looking to pretty much correct all the things, and yeah, this may end up being very, very tragical.
well, this has to be the perfect timing for the Panthers. They've got to all go together. They're really holding it down to the wire. Lightning Man strikes. Perfectly timed. Well done from the Panthers. But how well can they trade out? Lightning Man, he's going to get his full clip off, so he's done his job. He's got that reset. God mode in the Super Conqueror now needs to pen his shots. The CS63 of JS has to get involved, and already we see an exchange. In fact, even an advantage for a brief moment. Or the Panthers are 1-for-1. There is, however, a 2-on-1 happening. And it is the Conqueror's players starting to get farmed. God mode gets blown up. It was an ammo rack, but Whippet will follow suit fairly shortly. A 3-on-3 to ensue. Twit, full HP. Mary Turnip also maxed out. But in the Super Conqueror,
Understandably so, this is where they have to be very cautious about. Critical been taken down to basically 1 HP, one shot, and there he is, finished 1-for-1 yet again.
JS has the advantage in this fight against the VZ55. He knows the Trax is not going to be able to clip him out. He's just happy to drive at him and take that one-on-one and assume that, of course, Twit is going to be able to survive solo against the Super Conqueror, because Super Conqueror, very slow tank, 60 TP, pretty decent armor, lots of HP right now, and of course, instantly it's back into the 2-on-1. Expertly played by the Panthers, but he's on the attack. He has to force the issue. He has to take these kind of risks, and the reality is for Panthers, they can sit there and do absolutely nothing and win this game. So, Mary Turnip, he recognizes this one.
Welcome back. It is our last week before the finals here for ANZPL. We know that the North Sydney Sentinels, the last team win live finals, the team, Jordan, that were the back-to-back champs, they're coming to Melbourne. They're going to be here in 2 weeks. They're coming back on June 25. They're going to be here live from the Alienware Arena at Fortress Melbourne. But we've got to work out who's going to be there with them. And I'd kind of been hyping up that we're finally going to get to see the Scorpions v the Sentinels in the grand final. The Sydney Derby, like the two best teams in the league, definitely going head-to-head finally on land in finals. And they went head-to-head last week, Cthulhu. And the Scorpions got absolutely demolished.
Yeah, the Scorpions received quite a thorough spanking in the form of a 4-0 victory of Sentinels. And yeah, look, there were quite a few arguably just unfortunate and turbo tilter moments for Scorpions. Question being for tonight, though, are there going to be similar kind of cases tonight for them, or have they fortified their, their mental strength going into this matchup?
Well, it's the battle of the J's, really, isn't it? It's JT versus JS, and I don't know. The Scorpions, to me, it did seem like they were getting a little bit tilted last week, a little bit baited. Things certainly didn't go their way. They were perhaps a tad unlucky. And the Panthers, they were the team who I think kind of surprised everyone last season as well. And they made their way into the grand final, and they did it through one of the top two teams in the region. Whilst they did fall short, this could be the season for the Panthers, but there's a ton of pressure on the line tonight. So let's take a look at the teams for our consolidation finals, our last game before the grand finals. Jordan, we've been going through this team lineup all season long, but the South Sydney Scorpions, they've had a really good regular season. It's always, for me, just finals where these players struggle.
Yeah, it's always a bit interesting, isn't it? Because I think for Scorpions, it's something that you could say has cropped up a lot over the course of ANZPL. They've always had a decent regular season. They've almost always made it through the playoffs. But, it sort of feels like every single time it is those playoffs that tends to let them down. And once again, maybe that's happening.
Look at it. Look at the. Do you know what the
It's the
difference
only
is, Jordan?
series they haven't been able to find at least one round win in.
Yeah,
so.
that's it. All of the other games have numbers that aren't 0 on either side of the dash in the middle, except the one that really counted last week. And to go down 0-4 and to do it in the fashion in which they did, that was a big surprise to me. And honestly, Cthulhu, yes, things did not go the Scorpions' way, but it looked real rough last week.
Yeah, it definitely did look quite rough. And I mean, with Scorpions, it has been occasionally some rather interesting strats with the ones that they have been bringing out, with some more unconventional positions to hold on to. But ultimately, it was always kind of, whenever they were in the lead, it was always looked like it was almost meant to be that way. And the way how they've held on to certain positions was valiant. But yeah, again, some of their performances have been also a bit questionable, namely some of the more recent showcases on Cliff.
Yeah, and I think, there are some questions to be asked, but the reality is, I think we've said this a couple of times now, to be fair, that, last week, I guess it didn't really matter for the Scorpions. It mattered, but it didn't really matter. They had this second shot. For the Conks last week, they had the exact same thing happen to them, and they're out. They're done. They're out in fourth. They're not getting another shot for season 4. But for the Scorpions, they get to sort of bounce back, and they get this week to, I suppose, see if they can pull things together or not. Because even if things went their way last week, that wasn't the Scorpions that I want turning up to the grand final at Fortress Melbourne. I do not want to see the Scorpions play like that on stage, because it would just be upsetting. So, maybe they needed that shellacking last week. Maybe they needed things to not go their way. I don't know. They've had, as we said, a pretty good season, but certainly did feel like a setback in that upper bracket final. JS, though, for the Panthers, look, Cthulhu, JS has a lot of fans in the community. They went all the way to the finals, as we said, in season 3. It wasn't the LAN final, though. We were all stuck at home. I think there are a lot of people cheering for these players to make it through to the live finals.
A lot of people's cheering. I know a fair few players as well wanting to see JS back onto the finals to get some revenge storyline going, knowingly, Wymo has been the one calling JS out rather audibly as well. And looking, at their performance, start was definitely very rough for them. And so far, their track record against Sentinels was not particularly looking great. But in saying that, they, close to the end of the season, they still managed to start pulling up some really big dubs. Namely, the big wins over the Conquerors, continuing to keep that team down in the trenches, basically. And whereas against Sentinels, against Scorpions, general storyline has been that they were taking losses. But, you look at the very last matchup against Scorpions, it was on a tiebreaker, meaning that, Panthers are getting closer and closer to being able to achieve the victory. And that will be one hell of a way to develop their whole storyline. You look at their scorelines, always losing in those very convincing scorelines. So 1-3s to Scorpions at the very beginning. Second round, 2-3. Now third round, on a bigger scale. Why not make it their win?
Yeah, exactly. And I think you bring up a good point in that when you look at that road to finals, the season that the Panthers had, it actually wasn't that bad a season. We talked about, maybe they'll make their way through if they pick it up towards the end. But apart from that one outlying loss to the Action X, they beat everyone else all season long, except for the Scorps and the Sentinels, the two top teams, the teams that I think, to be honest, Jordan, most people expect to be the two going through to finals. So, that's actually a pretty good season, and they've gone relatively well. The question for me is, are they going to peak this week or in 2 weeks' time? Did they peak last week with that 4-0 over the Conquerors? Did they bring everything out a week too early to make their way through, or have they still got something in reserve for us tonight?
Yeah, Panthers is a bit of an interesting conundrum to me, because they always feel like They're a team that flies under the radar a little bit, and I'm not sure why. I think this season it's probably because they had a bit of a rougher start to the season. It took them a little while to get the ball rolling, and you sort of always have that in the back of your mind, or it's sort of influencing your decisions and your predictions and whatnot. But hopefully they're going to peak at the right time, as you say, Ben. Hopefully it wasn't last week. Hopefully they've still got something left in the tank. And for a couple of the players to touch on, I think Russian is someone that we obviously need to discuss, right? He is the top player for the league at the moment. Fantasy points, damage, whatever. Throw a stat out there. He's probably up toward the top end of it. And he's played a couple less games than a lot of the players. So no reason not to highlight him. And then on the other side of the coin, you know, his counterpart, I suppose, in the Panthers roster would be Goober. These are two very impactful players. They like to play those medium tanks. They like to be the stars for their teams. And they really need to both be stepping up today to be bringing their A game. Because if one of these two fails to deliver, having been one of the most consistent forces on their team throughout the course of this season, that's curtains for your season.
Yeah, exactly. There are no more second chances tonight for either of these two teams. The map, Prokhorovka is the pick for the Panthers. Then Mines for the Scorpions. They're going to be happy about that one. Himmelsdorf coming through as the third map. And then Ghost Town will be the tiebreaker should we need it. So Tundra, the best map, does get banned out by the Scorps. So I think no one kind of expected that one to come through for the Panthers. But Cthulhu, I heard the chuckle. I agree. I'm kind of surprised to see Mines in this map pool.
I'm surprised and keen for both of these maps because basically the storyline here could be that two teams to trade blows. Both teams have the ability on their own map picks to take the 2-0s, and it opens up finally the storyline for us to finally possibly go into all 4 maps.
Are we finally going to get, that full best of 7, Jordan? This is such an important game for both of these teams that surely it goes all the way.
I mean, I'd have to agree with Cthulhu. I think there's very much a possibility that Panthers 2-0s here on Proc, and then Scorpions going to have to 2-0 on Mines. Maybe not if Goober is going to give up that much HP early on in the piece. Forced to use his repair kit early as well. JT was spotted, so he's taking a bit of a risk by pushing down this one line, but it's a fairly calculated risk, having already seen that the Bat Chat has crossed over the tracks. You'd assume that most of the Panthers tanks are heading in that direction, and now that the action does die down a little bit, I want to just bring it back to those maps. I think Panthers, they've looked really good on this map this season, and Scorpions have been a little bit hit and miss. Sometimes they've had good games, sometimes they've had bad games. And Mines, I mean, it's looked shocking for Panthers this season. They really don't have a very good win rate on it, and obviously it was the stronghold for the Scorpions. So it sort of feels like, we talk a lot about the 2-0s being important on your own map picks, but I kind of feel like that is really compounded in this series. If you're not able to get the 2-0 on your own map pick, you are going to be in dire straits.
I mean, I don't want to alarm you here, Jordan, but Russian is back onto the Stritzvan 103B. And remembering last time the man was able to bring out the Tank Destroyer on this very map, he was able to farm up an absolute storm here. So if Panthers, for some ungodly known reason, decide to say, oh, let's push 1-2 line, good luck. Because that's basically where you fall. And so, curiously to me here, Goober is actually playing for the position that Russian used to play last time Scorpions
they're a little bit
played.
worried. Even you can see through there. He's blind firing the bushes. He's just they're trying to get a sense of where that STRV is going to be. They don't know. And
hopefully this time the call comes out right.
It's a pretty important point, isn't it? That he has changed that position up. I think you would be a little bit silly here to assume that the STRV is going to be in the same spot. Scorpions is one of those teams that you don't tend to see running the exact same strategy a lot. Sometimes they'll run very similar strategies or the same compositions, but they're playing different positions. And Panthers, I think, would be wise to just, obviously send Twit forward here, have a look, but not commit all of your forces. And you can already start to see those Super Conquerors are, maybe trending away from this area of the map. In the meanwhile, there is going to be a counter push coming out here from Scorpions. They're going to look to take control of the 1-2 line, and this could be Lightning Man really in a spot of bother, because he is literally on the other side of the map to the rest of his entire team. Won't get that shot through onto JT, and the rest of Scorpions are driving at him. Napalmer in that Super Conqueror. JT obviously in the T100 LT, and now finally they will be able to spot the STRV out or maybe get a bit of info on that, because Lightning Man, he's going to need some help.
Yeah, Lightning Man will definitely need some help, but his whole idea here is rid the Scorpions of the light tank, of the ability to be able to scout any further, even if he does go down. So this is going to be the prime idea to do so, and he lands a really solid shot. The issue is, Napalm, at the moment he comes back from all of this, yep, he's able to finish off the shot, but that leaves JT on barely a whole lot of HP. And you look at the HP differential, still very much
He's going to be in trouble now. In a second, if those two guys dump over the cliffs, he might get a one assisting shot through from Knight in that 60 TP. If they do decide to dump over, whether that'll go into the IS-7 or not, whether it'll go into the Batchat, I'm not too sure, but it looks like the timing has been found here for the Scorpions, right? They weathered the storm enough. While there was that overmatch on the opposite side of the map, Panthers are not able to get enough done on tonight in that 60 TP. They're not really able to put any pressure onto Aussie in the Super Conqueror, and they missed their window. Scorpions obviously committed a lot of tanks down that 1-2 line. They got the kill. They didn't lose JT, which was an important point. If he would have gone down, things could have gotten a bit awkward. Panthers just unfortunately not able to find that, you know, really small, tight window to potentially do something in mid, and ultimately they're going to lose the game.
Yeah, not the kind of result that Panthers would have wanted to see, and that's something that would be a little bit heartbreaking for them, given that Scorpions have been, well, while we were, you know, talking about the tail of Panthers, Scorpions have been improving their play on the Prokhorovka in the, well, the quote-unquote, the anticipation for this very matchup, possibly even. And, yeah, look, their play so far worked out perfectly well. JT, again, already scouting up ahead, basically getting a light up on the two big important tanks, that is the two S-Kongs. And from there on, unless it's a turbo throw, everything else basically points into the fact that Scorpions are winning out this round.
Not really much more to say about it.
Yeah.
God mode going to go down pretty quickly, and JS and Goober will be the last two to survive for the Panthers, but they won't survive long. And Aussie will, I suppose, have the luxury of farming all of that damage onto JS. Maybe Napalm can slide a shot in here. We've gone over the top of JS's tank, and JT in the T100 LT also not able to land a connection. Inevitably, though, Scorpions will walk away with the 1-0 lead, and that is a very positive sign, considering how much of a roller coaster their Prokhorovka has been this season. It's sitting at about a 50% win rate, Ben, and I think today 50% is probably enough.
Yeah, it seems to be the case, and perhaps a little bit of a shock there for the Panthers. They were, as yet, undefeated on the attacking side of Proc, so that's their first defeat coming through, and very timely here for the Scorpions, and that's the start they needed, Cthulhu. We talked about how their momentum absolutely sucked last week, how things did not go their way, how things from the very beginning of that game on Cliff in the upper bracket final, they just weren't feeling it. So to come out on not their map pick and to pick up a win to start off the night, that's what Scorpions fans want to see.
Yeah, absolutely. This is certainly a great beginning here, given that the momentum is going to be absolutely important here to the maximum. And yeah, look, bit of a how's it going really from Panthers, not gonna lie, on the Prokhorovka. Both Twit and Goober sitting on 0 damage, and then the rest of the team needing to kind of pick up the slack. Did not particularly bode well, including the fact that JT as well was able to farm up 2k damage as well himself on the T100 LT is already a pretty solid stat. But yeah, look, it was definitely quite a pleasant change-up for Scorpion's approach, because I don't think we actually seen before this kind of very aggressive 1-2 push on their side of play. So, I mean, if that's the indication of how things might go, Panthers might be in for a very rude awakening. Yeah,
well, Lightning Man was certainly in for a rude awakening here, Jordan. I don't think he was prepared for that one.
Yeah, I mean, he was there for that. You know, he was there to deal with that kind of a push. I'm just not sure that Panthers or Lightning Man were really expecting that committed of a push. No, you know, normally might see a T100 LT driving down there on its own once the other side of the map has sort of been taken by the attackers. But 3 tanks heading in that direction, I'm not sure that they were really banking on that. And so Unfortunately, when you're a 277 isolated solo like that, there's not really too much you can do about it.
No.
He's designed to soak up some time and do as much damage as he possibly can. Obviously, he can play hull down there, but when there's 3 tanks driving at you, there's only so much you can do. And it really comes down to what the rest of his team can do on the other side of the map, and that was the discussion we were having.
Yeah, you can't do that and then have 2 tanks do 0 damage. So not really working out very well for the Panthers, but look, they still have a chance here. I think at a minimum, the expectation for me is that you get your map pick, you probably need to go 1-1 on that. And as much as they've been pretty good on the attacking side, we flip them over, we put them on the defense now, on their map pick here. And you got to feel, look, Panthers, you got to bring this back. You don't want to let this sort of stretch out Cthulhu to 0-2, heading into mines against the Scorpions. That's a real bad place to be in.
Oh yeah, mines would basically be name possible. I would call it here, given that Scorpions seem to have been having a really good grasp over that map. They were able to vary their playstyles really well, and that's been kind of the big thing. It's always keeping your opponents guessing, and this time Panthers get to experience the whole spectrum of it all, whether it's Prokhorovka or mines, I get a feeling.
Yeah, I hope everyone's enjoying themselves. Don't forget to spam HyperX in chat. You're running out of chances in one of those custom HyperX Cloud 2 wide headsets. We give one away every week, and we'll see. Hopefully the Panthers don't give too much away tonight. Certainly not on Proc, Jordan, because they need to come out of this with the 1-1.
They certainly do. And it'll be Lightning Man taking a little bit of a risk as he pushes his way quickly down the 1 line. Doesn't look like he's going to face too much resistance. He probably feels as though he can get away with this because there's no enemy T100 LT on the other side of the field. So the theory would be he's going to outspot anyone before they see him. And he would, generally speaking, be proven correct. Already some good damage going in onto a couple of the Scorpions tanks. Aussie taking a bit of a beating there, and Farmer maybe moments away from getting spotted out by Lightning Man, though it seems he's made that cross, or almost unlit. Eventually does. Now you'd have to wonder, is Lightning Man going to get out of here alive? As long as he stays in the dip, he should be fine.
Yeah. Theoretically, yeah, everything should be basically fine, but the cool idea is that basically with the IS-7 JT could technically go for a bit of a hunt, bit of a proxy spot, albeit again it is going to be conducted within the safety of the south side of the map, but it's still very much workable. And yeah, JT now realizing that he has been found, has been spotted. This is so far so good for Panthers. They are pretty much sitting pretty here, and the position that both of the sides find themselves in is still everyone's game, really.
I have to agree with you. I'm wondering how Scorpions intend to dig out this T100 LT. It's going to be a hard tank to find without a light tank of their own. He in the IS-7, what if he just sends it over? That could be awkward for Lightning Man. Won't end up deciding to do so. He's not that ballsy. But it is going to send Lightning Man scurrying a little bit. Eventually he regains his nerves and gets back inside of the bush.
Yeah. It's a little bit of a stalemate here between the two teams, because for Scorpions, they're in a position where they are sitting, well, we have the point advantage. We have the momentum in our hands. We can't really afford to thwart this out, because they would want to absolutely just roll it down absolutely 4-0 and call it a day, because, well, that reveals the minimal amount of maps, really, for them to showcase before going against Sentinels. Mm-hmm. And, I mean, it's been kind of a bit of a talking point where Scorpions have been trying to vary it a little bit, their plays, their approaches, their strats, with JT being known for some of the more, let's call it, unconventional setups with the positionings of certain tanks. It will be a great boon to their own toolkit to go into this matchup, win it 4-0, go into the Sentinels with what almost feels like now nearly a clean slate, bar their performances on Mines and Proc. So, whereas for Panthers, they're here, they're basically in a position where they need to calm themselves down, don't get themselves too flustered, And from there on, they should be able to relatively well dictate the battle, but dedicating both the T100 LT and the Bad Chat to the 1-2 line feels a little bit counterintuitive purely for the fact that this basically forces them to play a very passive game, which Panthers would probably prefer to avoid against what already is an aggressive Scorpions roster.
Well, not seeing too much aggression here on Proc just yet.
Yeah.
And that timer is ticking down. There's just under 4 minutes left here for the Scorpions, so still enough time to make something happen, but they seem to be committing their forces in the direction that is quite heavily defended, and generally speaking, that doesn't go well on Proc. Knight's going to start driving forward. There's 2 Super Conquerors and an IS-7 on this side of the map. It feels like Scorpions is driving into a trap. JT, lucky that that one has bounced off of his track and hasn't done any damage. Knight is just still driving forward. How on earth is he still full HP? Surely
Where's
in just
the
a
farm?
moment, the Panthers are going to spring this trap and Scorpions is just going to be dead.
Yeah, where's the damage? Where's any of that really happening? Because, well, God mode is technically locked in because there's an Skog ready to farm up anyone that is about to peek over the ridge. But there is that down train card, so you could utilize it for the peaking potential. But between Twit and JS, surely that's where the punishment of the 60 TP comes around. Surely that's where Goober could even walk around. Because now that Aussie has caught up with Twit, now that JT is here, that's the welcoming party. That's where the fun begins.
I mean, if Knight can somehow find a way to stay alive for even another 10, 15 seconds, that could be a big difference maker. They will be able to take Twit down. Maybe a little bit too little too late here. JT's going to try chase him in that IS-7 into the swamp. And of course, this is always a bit of an awkward time because you do drive a lot slower through the water and you're out in sort of no man's land. JT will have to be relied upon to finish that one up. 529, a nice roll there from Twit, but eventually he will be finished off. Nate Palmer is going to get rings run around him by Lightning Man, and he's in a 2-on-1 against the Bat Chat and the T100 LT. We all know how that's going to work out. There's no chance he wins this one. He'll just have to try and do as much damage as he possibly can and hope against hope that the rest of the Scorpions are going to be able to do all that work on the other side of the map. But Panthers have played this one pretty well so far. Should be able to get it done on the defensive side of Prokhorovka.
Yeah. Defensive side of Prokhorovka, well, finally at least some sort of closure here, quote-unquote, for Panthers, that if things would have gotten very much dire for Panthers if they would have flocked this one out. And, well, thankfully for them, they don't yet throw this out into the bin unless God Mode gets farmed up and JS gets completely obliterated, and that's when the sweat will start happening. But look, I mean, yes, JS will go down here, but God Mode surely gets some support from Goober to just basically try to get the S-Kong out of that position. But 58 seconds, surely the time is not enough to deal any sort of deadly blow to Panthers.
I don't think so, not with only 2 tanks alive. Russian, he's reasonably healthy, I suppose, but JT is hanging on for dear life at this point. And Lightning Man, this is a great game from Lightning Man. 2.7k in a T100 LT is not something you see every day, and that number is only going to increase. He might hit 3k here.
Nah, not yet. But look, I mean, a 1-1 scoreline. I suppose as a Panthers you would take it, but that means a bit of an extra sweaty mode going into the mines.
Yeah, congrats to the Panthers. They pick one back up, and I think we could all say that was a pretty convincing defensive side win there from the Panthers on Prokhorovka. Yes, it was their map of choice, but they are going up against the Scorpions, who kind of expected to take it to them tonight. The next challenge, Jordan, however, is can they do the same and go 1-1 at a minimum on mines? Because you definitely don't want to be on match point heading into Himmelsdorf. That's going to be pretty tough. So I'm interested to see, are they up to the challenge? Because we know how much the Scorpions love that map.
Well, 16% win rate on mines so far this season would say probably not. They've won 1 out of 6 rounds on it, 1 out of 3 on the attack. And I guess they're going to want to try and get at least 1. That is, 1 is I don't know, is it the bare minimum? I suppose we'd have to have a discussion around map 3 and how that sort of looks like it lines up, but I think that'll be tough against the Scorpions, who are traditionally very, very good on that one. Really, really solid performance from JS. 4.8k coming out from him in the Super Conk. You love to see that kind of number from your Super Conqueror player. But I got to say, Lightning Man, 2.6 in a light tank. It's really, really impressive. So very, very good stuff from him as well.
Yeah, the complete opposite, I think, kind of what we saw from the Panthers on the attacking side there, Cthulhu. Everyone turning up this time around. As Jordan said, it's one thing just to have your light tank out there doing some spotting damage, but Lightning Man coming out with the real damage as well, and it certainly made a difference.
Sorry, my voice at the very last moment even there. But yeah, Lightning Man, absolutely, yeah. They came in quite big. So did JS as well, in his position finally being able to farm up some damage as well on against the 60 TP of Knight. Basically, yeah, shut down that whole momentum that was intended to happen. And look, it worked out all perfectly well. Yeah, look, the info game certainly was on the stronger end, it seems, from the Panthers defense, but it did come down to basically forcing Scorpions to come push at them rather than Panthers trying to take the fight by themselves.
Yeah, it certainly did. So that was a good one, actually. It's good to see the Panthers come out with a bit of a convincing win. Jordan, we'll take a look at the highlights here. What are the big takeaways from you? Obviously, the Scorpions end up pushing the right-hand side of the map and maybe in the end was the less than ideal choice.
Yeah, very hard for Scorpions to take any good map control, and even when they do start to look for it, they are kind of running in blind. They aren't able to get any vision. They don't have a T100 LT of their own. They're getting corralled around the map by Lightning Man and his T100 LT, and ultimately that timer ticks down enough that Scorpions just says, look, we have to go, right? There's 3.5 minutes, 3 minutes left on the clock. We've got to push somewhere. For better or worse, we'll see how it goes. And, they made it reasonably close, but it never felt like Panthers was going to be dropping that round at any point in time. So just sort of felt like a bit of a better defensive setup from Panthers than what Scorpions was prepared to deal with. They had better vision control, better map control, tanks in the right spots, and Scorpions drove into them. And not that they gave them a free win or anything like that, but that's kind of what it felt like for Panthers. They didn't have to work too hard for that one.
Well, they did. They did what they needed to do, right? They sat back, they got a little bit of vision, and they made life tough for the Scorpions. And then at that point, you kind of have to roll the dice, and things don't always go your way, and that's kind of what happened. The Scorpions push in without the knowledge they needed, as you said, and they were left in that position. We'd rather see the Scorps do that than do nothing or wait even later, trying to find more and run out of time. Talking about running out of time, we're almost running out of time for our season. This is our second last week of ANZPL Season 4. Next week, I think we take a break, and then 2 weeks from now on the Saturday, we're back live here in Fortress Melbourne, where I am right now, except not in the streamer room. We're upstairs in the Alienware Arena. You can be too. Tickets are on sale. June 25, as I said, is when it is on. That's on a Saturday. ! Tickets in Twitch chat if you want to find out more. And the sale from those tickets, some of that money is going to be going to the Game on Cancer, a charity the guys from Wargaming ANZ and World of Tanks have been supporting. They've done auctions. We've seen push-ups and burpees and sit-ups. I think Jay Raider's probably laying on the ground right now. He can't get out of bed. He's done so many sit-ups in the last couple of days. There is a 12-hour Raidathon tomorrow with the Aussie CCs as well, which is very, very cool. And you can still donate to that cause. Use !donate in Twitch chat if you want to find out more and how to get involved. It's been awesome to see. They've already raised a few $1,000s, I think, and I saw maybe the target was 5K or something like that. I'm sure Jay Raider and Kev have the info in chat, so get involved in that one. And I'm very keen to see what Kev and Jake's hair is going to look like at LAN, Jordan, because people got to buy and pay for the privilege to mess up their hair. So
they get to choose the color, right?
Choose the color, yeah. I don't know what the color's going to be for Kev, but whatever it is, I think it's going to be better than what it currently is. You know what I mean? Like, there's not much wrong you can do there. It's only going to be a positive. So I'm
like
very
highlighter
excited.
yellow. What about highlighter yellow?
Oof, that's going.
Donga gets the ticket.
It's going to be great. I'm very keen to see that one. As I am this match on Mines, I want to say the pressure is on the Panthers. This is the Scorpions map pick. They went 1-1 on the pick for the Panthers, and the Scorpions love this map so much, Jordan.
Certainly do. Bit of a different approach from their opponents than maybe what they would like to see. A lot of the time, Scorpions like to have that brawl in mid. We might still get that in the second half. I think normally it comes from Scorpions on the defense when we see a big kill fight in mid. But on the attack, it tends to be a little bit more reserved. Interesting defensive setup, though, from the Panthers here. They've gone for a bit more of like a 7-8 line defense rather than putting too many forces towards the coastal side of the map. And that is a little bit out of the ordinary. Normally, you have a couple more forces in the direction of the two flag.
Yeah, I mean, the way how Scorpions used to play is, yeah, you absolutely stack your forces towards the 2 flag and then kind of play for that. But their change around is actually very, very impressive, given that now introducing the STB, which would be an absolutely pain in the side to really get rid of, especially in a hold down position. And, well, basically being able to completely permalight up Lightning Man's position, while still having the ability to go in for those swings. JT in the 277 should be able to apply a good amount of pressure. And with Knight and Napalmer being on the E5 and the Conqueror, respectively, they should have a really good spot to either go and overpower one of the 60 TPs, or whenever one of the swings does happen, be able to basically outgun anyone and everyone who decides to go against them. So, as it stands, actually, Scorpions have taken a very good amount of ground, but JT being spotted does reveal a certain size of the of their plan, and, well, it certainly does kind of force the 277 player to fall back a little bit more, just to kind of give it a bit of a retry.
I think this is going to be a tough nut to crack for the Scorpions, though. Goober in the IS-4, right at the back of the map. Normally, the way that this sort of gets broken open a little bit is by that CS-63 crossing the K-line and taking that engagement after the tank down there has taken a bit of damage. But an IS-4, you're not really going to be able to find that 1v1 very easily as a CS-63, and they're also not going to be able to easily do damage to Goober as long as he's keeping his head down. So I think this is going to be another one where the Scorpions, the cogs in their heads are really going to have to be turning. They're going to have to be thinking quite hard about how they're going to break this open. Perhaps putting a tank on the 2 flag to try to draw a bit of a peek out from Goober in the IS-4. Ultimately, he'll probably have to be the one to get those resets. Is going to be the best case scenario. And that kind of looks like it might be what the Scorpions are going to go and opt for. JT and the 277 headed in that direction.
Indeed, it does look like it. The IS-4 position that is currently being occupied here by Goober, apart from him exposing his whole hull to JT, it has the possibility of basically being able to reset. The HE rounds are good. The heat pin is going to be good enough to at least keep JT on the top of his feet and on the top of his toes. The CS position, though, from Aussie, now that could be problematic because that's an extra pressure. That's a whole lot of HP bleed, even if Aussie does go down in a 1v1. And from there on, oh boy.
That connected. Yeah. That connected onto JT.
That's not good for JT, yeah.
No. So that was, I guess that was kind of plan B, really, for Scorpions. So now let's see what plan C is going to be. Because plan A was taking a bit of a push down the 8-9 line. JT having a little bit of a look there. Now he's gone and tried to put a bit of pressure on the cap. That hasn't worked out either. What is plan C? And now plan C has to kind of incorporate the fact that you're down a fair chunk of HP and JT is, 3 shots away from death. Oh, Knight's lucky to have dodged that one too.
Yeah, Knight's plan here is to basically head-on face one of the 6 TPs and try to drain that of HP. Here's Aussie's plan. Try to go in and push Goober, and the gun suppression will be playing a rather cruel joke here. Now Goober being in a 3-way crossfire has to fall back, and that now gives a huge chunk of control into the hands of Scorpions, albeit Panthers still keeping themselves nice and tight. But Goober needs to stay alive for all rights and purposes, he needs to be the one to stay alive, to not give away the HP. Over-angling is not going to be, though, the case for him.
Well, he doesn't win this fight anymore.
Yeah, he does not at all, and it's not particularly looking good. You have to fall back, my man, but falling back will also mean driving directly into the sideline of the S-Kong. JT at least loses a fair bit more damage, and so now going against the S-Kong of God Mode could be something that God Mode could be looking forward to.
They have now opened the map up here, Scorpions. It's taken them a long time to do it, and it's taken them a lot of HP to do so as well. But they have got an angle that's now going to put pressure onto Twit and Lightning Man. So we'll have to see what they're going to do with these next 2 minutes. It's going to really come down to the wire, this one. Scorpions have been very methodical working their way through the map, and Aussie is on the cap. Is he going to stay there? It looks like he will. He's going to try and force the push out from Panthers. I really like this from the Scorpions, but I really have to wonder if they've got enough time to make this one work. It's going to come down to Napalmer and Russian and Knight really hitting their shots and focus firing well. Otherwise, Panthers can still make this one happen.
Yep, absolutely. Panthers could very much shut things down here. Already full collapses coming out. God Mode does get farmed up quite nicely as well, courtesy of Napalmer and I believe Knight as well. But the main course of action, get rid of Knight, get rid of that E5. The ammo rack for Twit's 60 TP is not looking good. What was a decent idea for Panthers to just push out and start getting that pressure going, so far is turning into a bit of a nightmare. You look at the HP bleed, it's severe. God Mode is only on 2 shots of HP. Actually manages to bounce one of the shots, but it is not particularly looking good. Already Twit is down, God Mode is out. Panthers are about to fall.
Look, it's an interesting call from the Panthers because they've essentially driven right into a crossfire, and I'm not sure what else they really could have done. Aussie's happy to just move off of the cap as soon as that push is forced by the Panthers. Scorpions obviously know that they have not a lot of time to work with, and so they do need to have every gun in the game that they possibly can. Lightning Man on the run, 45 seconds. Can he find a way to somehow survive? Well, maybe not if he's going to drive his tank like that. Oh, no, Russian, what are you doing? Surely you can't throw this one away. Scorpions, they are scrambling for this kill. Aussie's died! Are you serious? Lightning Man, can he win from a position like this? It would be so bloody unreasonable. 18 seconds, I don't quite think he's going to be able to win. I don't quite think he's going to be able to survive, but my God, Scorpions, they really tried to throw that one.
Oh dear. That
JT is even yelling at them.
That almost went a little bit already there for the Scorpions. I like the play though from the Panthers in the end. Just, you know what I mean? Make the Scorpions do something a bit wild. Or I'm not going to say it almost worked, Jordan, but it almost worked.
I mean, it almost did work. Yeah, I don't really know what else Panthers could have done realistically there. You know, if Lightning Man doesn't get stuck, does that make a difference? I'm not sure. Because I almost feel like Scorpions had kind of gone, all right, well, he's stuck. We're just going to send it for the memes.
Yeah,
Would
maybe,
they have sent it like that if not for the fact that Lightning Man got stuck?
I guess it depends which way he goes, right? Because you almost have to send it if he's stuck, because you're not going to be able to shoot him at all, right? You're not going to get around in time to shoot him. I guess he could have just hugged the wall and driven around, but still, maybe someone would have got a shot off. Nevertheless, that one did go down to the wire. But I think the Scorpions played it pretty well, Cthulhu, and they'll find themselves another point on the board on mines. To be fair, as to be expected, but I think the Panthers made them work for it.
Panthers did, in fact, yeah, correct. They didn't make them work for it, but it was, it still felt very much kind of in control of Scorpions, and kind of the way how they've played it out, I definitely absolutely loved it. The way that JT went for one flag, okay, doesn't work, we have time. Straight away rotated out, fully utilizes the mobility of the 277 as well. Goes in for the peek at the 2 flag. Okay, that doesn't work. Copped 1 or 2 shots. Okay, time to back away. Backs away, completely actually falls back initially to the spawn, and then back to the island. where he finally finds success whilst playing in tandem with Aussie as well, and being able to overpower Goober's position basically sealed the deal, because that opened up a whole lot of ground, a whole lot of position to play around, not a whole lot of coverage for God Mode either, really, to play, and he was ended up basically faced to pretty much sit out in the middle of nowhere, and it's just overall, it was an absolute nightmare there for Panthers logistically, and the way how they played it all out. Yeah, it just did not work as intended, and yeah, that was kind of the icing on the cake. Bit of almost a napalm moment, David.
Yeah, that was a little bit scary, maybe there, particularly this one, particularly that last part when we go down to only 3 tags as Aussie blows up, but they do get there in the end, and only just in the nick of time. You can see it on the Panthers' faces. Look, maybe a little bit. They weren't expecting too much there, but maybe a little bit of disappointment. But for the Scorpions, certainly a bit of hype there. I will give it to the Panthers there. I will give it to the Panthers that I think they worried the Scorps a little bit, Jordan.
I think so, yeah. They made the best out of a bad situation, that's for sure. I mean, up till about 2 minutes left on the clock, that was kind of looking like it was going to be a Panthers round, and then Scorpions eventually are able to dig out that IS-4 like I spoke about. But even from that point, right, with 2 minutes left on the clock, you know, Scorpions kind of had to play that one almost perfectly. Yes, they almost threw at the end, but they did have to play it quite well to get it to the position that it did end up being a Scorpions victory. So, see what Scorps can do now on the defense if we're going to get an explosive push into mid. That's normally their go-to.
Yeah, certainly keen to see how will that really work out. Already, Scorpions are basically par for the course for their victory. Need, I believe only a couple more rounds, so this could still be very much theirs for the taking, albeit Panthers, again, they would be quite sweating, because whilst they were able to catch up score-wise, things in general have been looking a little bit dire. What looked like what they practiced was for the group stage Scorpions. Scorpions brought out the playoffs Scorpions finally, comparative to what we've seen last weekend. Yeah, this is looking great for them. And still, yeah, the fact that Mines was able to actually sneak into the map veto and not be banned out in the early stages almost confuses me, I have to say, at least on the side of Panthers. Back at his position. That was the position that he utilized, I believe, last or the second to last Mines game. But it wasn't an IS-4, where he was able to keep an eye out on the position, or it was slightly further back around the H4, where he was able to basically keep an eye out solo on the whole island setup. Whereas this time, they have actually expanded into the island, so theoretically, he doesn't even need to worry about the crossfire. He needs to focus on basically blocking shots from the CS that could be harassing him from the hill. Whereas on the side of Panthers, whilst yes, it's a good setup that they've so far developed, they're very much now opening and making themselves prone to that very flank that CS63s have generated, which could be problematic.
It's going to be very hard for Panthers to go anywhere of value without taking damage, right? If they try to take the 1-2 line, CS63 is going to spot them out early, going to be able to get some shots off. Maybe JT even can turn around and put some damage in. You're already starting to see that, right? Goober tries to make the cross of the 1-2 line, already shot. Russian does get spotted, but, you know, Aussie's also there to back him up. If they try to go down the 1 line, obviously the Super Kong's going to be there to farm them, so the only place that they can really drive without suffering too much of a loss is up onto the hill, and that's not going to be too valuable to them at this point in time. They've already got control of that area of the map. They need to get control of one of the caps, or they need to try and put some pressure on Scorpions, and at the moment, I'm not sure that they're going to be able to do it.
It doesn't look like that. It doesn't look that way, really. It's just so far again. Yeah, look, trial and error, but the trial and error at the expense of their position at the grand final. Gooba, sub 1k HP, does not draw a particularly great scoreline or chances really for his survival nor his team's victory. Given that already, almost 3,000 HP differential. Well, pardon me, 2k, just slightly over 2k. And yeah, look, I'm a little bit concerned that maybe should Goober have played, say, something like a bat chat, maybe he would have been able to play a little bit more efficiently here for the counter spot.
I'm
But
not
that
sure it would have made
does-
much of a difference. to be
It
honest.
wouldn't. It probably wouldn't have. Yeah, but at least having that clip damage to be able to scare off a couple of the positions would have made good sense. Did Twit just shoot Lightning Man in the back?
No, I'm not too
Please don't tell me
sure. I
that's the
don't think
case.
that he did, but I was more so reacting to the push that Lightning Man is making here and how incredibly farmed he got on that push. It just continues to show. By the way, someone's on fire. Nate Palmer was on fire for a second. It just goes to show the setup, the strength that the Scorpions had there. But now they're going to really have to deal with this.
Yes.
This is an overmatch. It's a 2-on-3. Nate Palmer is quite low. They're going to have to really focus their shots here, Nate Palmer and Knight, and try to get something out of this. JT is on the way to help. You're probably going to lose at least a tank here, maybe two. Nate Palmer slides one off before he slides off. And he'll survive a lot longer than expected. Knight inevitably is the first tank to go down. Panthers have a numbers advantage, but for how long that will last, I do wonder. And does it really matter if they've got the numbers advantage if Scorpions have the instant trades? JT and Aussie getting one apiece. And now you'd have to make the argument Scorpions have the superior positioning, firepower. JT will get the cleanup onto Lightning Man, who rushes his shot and gets no more extra damage out of it. And now Russian and Aussie, with the power position on the hill, will be able to get all the info that's required. And that's pretty much going to be that. Scorpions should win the round. They should go up 3-1. Unless, of course, Russian drives off the edge and dies.
He had a very safe descent. Probably giving a little bit of a masterclass to Madhouse eventually. But yeah, look, Scorpions basically claiming mines once again as their comfort zone. Once again, showing that maybe it is worth to put in time and the effort to just flat out ban out this map, to not go on it against Scorpions, as this is their stomping ground.
It is their stomping ground, that's for sure. They only lost one round
Yes.
on either side of mines so far this season.
I believe it's just
That's the
overall
case.
just one round lost.
I think it's one round on either side. But either way, it doesn't really matter. Point is, they're very good on this map, and that's going to continue. So it'll be interesting to see how the veto plays out if they do get to play another game this season. Should they make it to the finals, which it is at the moment, looking like they will.
They're looking good, yeah. Just one win away now from a chance at redemption, a spot on the stage, a finals against the other team from Sydney, the Derby. We're going to finally get it potentially up against the Sentinels. But that was pretty impressive. And yeah, I think we're all on the same page here, Jordan. I don't understand how Mines gets through. I believe you are correct that up until this game, they'd only lost one on either side. One attacking side, one defending side out of 7 on each. Now that's still 1 out of 8 on each. Yeah, it's inconceivable to me that this got through.
Well, I guess that's going to be a bit of a lesson for the Panthers, or perhaps they're banking on their Himmelsdorf being good enough to get the 2-0 against the Scorpions. I'm sure they would have expected a 2-0 on Prokhorovka as well, to be fair. So it's a little bit of column A, bit of column B. Nice game in there from Knight, who has been, taking a bit of a backseat today, I feel, in comparison to a couple of the other guys on the team. But this time, able to put 2.8k on the board. He was really in that position to do a large share of that damage. Obviously, the push heading in his direction, he answered that call quite well. So very, very respectable. And unfortunately, just not quite enough being put in there from the Panthers. Always hard to attack on mines, though. They'll have to reset themselves and think about mines, as something in the past and look towards Himmelsdorf. That's the future, and that's the important map coming up for them. They need the 2-0 there.
Yeah, they do. And look, Himmelsdorf has not been a good map for this Panthers lineup either. I hope they brought something for this. I hope that they prepped. I hope that they're ready, because there's a lot standing between them right now, and JS bringing it home. I kind of feels like JS is about to stay home. He's not bringing it anywhere, because this lineup is struggling against the Scorpions. And if there's some of that you can say is maybe down to the maps, and we've kind of batted that one back around, but the Scorpions did look really good here, and the fact that they were able to find one on Prokhorovka makes this a tough match for anyone to win at this point.
Yeah, look, I mean, Prokhorovka could have gone a little bit cleaner for Panthers, I'll have to say. On the side of Scorpions, though, they read their opponents perfectly well. They knew exactly where to strike, how to strike, and, well, who to strike, really. And, I mean, yeah, Scorpions just played their A game tonight, and certainly, well, that last week's performance may have been that kind of a healing kick in the butt to get them finally into that 6th gear, to finally get themselves sorted. But yeah, look, certainly the Sydney Derby is looking to be a promising kind of deal for all of us to witness on the grand finals so far. But look, comebacks could still be very much real, I reckon.
Well, look, if ever there were a team to lose when they were ahead, it would be the Scorpions. That's for sure. It does seem to be something that they have struggled with in the past, Jordan. So if JS is going to bring it home and JS is going to ruin JT's week, I think it's definitely possible. But from what we have seen so far, it feels unlikely. Something would need to change.
Yeah, I'm getting a bit of a better sense from the Scorpions tonight than I was last week. If that's kind of where you're going with that train of thought, Ben, I would tend to agree with you there. I am looking at the stats, though, for Himmelsdorf and for both teams. It's not looking
kind of suck,
too good.
Right? They're both kind of bad. They're
So
both
I'm
kind
just
of
like-
bad at Himmelsdorf.
I'm going into this with absolutely no expectations. You know, I feel like anything could happen on this map. This is going to be a bamboozle for me and maybe for both of the teams as well. I'm still going to give benefit of the doubt to Scorpions. I think it would be pretty egregious to drop 2 rounds here. But, you know, as you've said in the past, it is something that they have a tendency to do in high pressure situations. So maybe this will be the first time they make it to an ANZ PL final. You know, they've been one of the best teams for, you know, the 4 seasons that we've had, and they've never made it to a final. So it sort of feels like it's about time.
It's almost criminal that they have not made. And the fact that the Scorpions have had such a good regular season that they finished on top of the leaderboard, you know, like it kind of feels like they deserve to be at finals. But if you can't beat the Panthers, you don't deserve to be at the finals. Not because the Panthers are bad. Panthers have had a pretty good season themselves, and they proved last season that they can turn up when it matters. But you know that one of the teams is probably going to be the Sentinels. So you need to be on par with them. If you're a Scorpions fan, if you're a Scorpions player, you probably don't want to make it to finals and play like you did last week. You don't want to play like we've seen the Scorpions play under high-pressure situations. You need them to be at their best. And I want nothing more than to see 2 teams absolutely performing to their peak in 2 weeks' time here at Fortress Melbourne for the finals. Right now, it looks like that's going to be the Scorpions, but the Panthers still have a shot. They need to pick up 2 right now on Himmelsdorf and send it to our tiebreaker, Ghost Town. But Elfish Guy, that's going to be rough when the Scorpions are starting out on defense.
Yeah, I mean, Scorpions actually quite a good team on Ghost Town as well. So even if they do get there, it's going to be quite a Herculean effort to win the series from this point for the Panthers. Defense start for Scorpions, as you say, is probably a good sign for them. Russian in a mouse. And a couple of IS-4s and a couple of Super Conquerors. So a lot of very heavy tanks. That is a huge number of HP to chunk on through. But a bit of damage being done there to Russian, which, you know, it must have been a nice shot to get through a mouse at that range.
Yeah, look, it's an interesting kind of setup here between Panthers and Scorpions, kind of dividing cleanly the whole of Himmelsdorf left and right side. Not really contesting in any other shape and form, apart from the 2 IS-4s about to respawn each other, possibly on this very approach. But the Object 277, that will be one hell of a shot to really pen, especially from JT's position. But everyone else should be pretty much having a very swell time. Now, interestingly enough, Dastardly has actually been swapped in now for Panthers, so no more God mode for the Himmelsdorf. But they're pushed towards the 2 flag coming in through the beeline. Could be a decent idea, but again, the ability of Scorpions to basically collapse on their opponents is also looking like a very prominent idea. But I say that it's not the beeline that is going to be taken here.
This is not your traditional game of Himmelsdorf, is it? A really fast sort of push down the hill from Panthers. It's not the kind of push you see a lot of the time, and this defensive setup also quite abnormal. A lot of map control taken down towards south for the Scorpions, and sometimes, sometimes that is good. In a case like this, I'm not too sure. It is going to give them a lot of flanking angles, but they're going to have to move quickly through that southern part of the map to find this reset, which, it feels like inevitably it's probably what it will come down to.
Yeah,
Yes, on the cap at the moment, just biding his time. Obviously, still a lot of time to play with for the Scorpions.
That advance though by Scorpions through the park as well. Gooba on IS4 is gonna have one hell of a time here, especially once Knight joins JT on the push as well, and it's a collapse from both the E7 and the D5 or D6. So this could be rather problematic, and will basically rely on Dastardly as well, helping Gooba with this gunfight, but that's not particularly really happening.
Gooba's
There's the
very
collapse, 750
isolated.
already out. 1200 HP, yeah. IS4 is hurting.
Had to repair the engine. It's cost him a couple of precious seconds, and maybe that's cost him some precious HP as well. JS, he's going to try and take this fight to Russian in the mouse. It is a one-on-one for the moment, but that's not going to last too much longer either. Napalmer in the Super Conk going to try and come in for the reinforcement. And that will leave JS high and dry. Yes, he's got Dastardly there, but the DPM from the Mouse and from the Super Conqueror are definitely going to outmatch that of the E5 and the IS4, particularly when Aussie's also joined the party. Doesn't really have an angle here at the moment, but inevitably the Mouse is soaking up so much damage and just not caring about it at all. Still 1200 HP, a formidable beast. And there is really nothing that the Panthers can do about it at this point in time. They're getting overmatched on both sides of the map.
Yeah, absolute overmatch, absolute overpower, and I mean, it worked out perfectly. Their ability to rotate so far has been great, and yeah, look, for Panthers, unfortunately, this may just end up being the end to their road, and only, well, to now watch essentially the Sentinels and the Scorpions to duke it all out and pick their own, well, favorites for this very thing. Although I was about to say that maybe they could have had at least some sort of a advantage going into some of the gunfights, but as it stands, yeah, this is basically about it. Twit is about to go down, and Lightning Man is the last man standing.
Aussie full HP, even if there was a situation where some of those low HP tanks were to go down, the clutch would have been his and its Scorpions that will go through to the grand final. It was a roundabout's way of doing it. Russian is giving us a show. Not just the shirt, mate. Come on, take the hat off too. You thought I was going to say pants. Come on. But the Scorpions, they're going to be happy with that. Obviously, a bit of a rougher run, having to go through the lower bracket, but they have ensured that the grand final that was promised is now going to be delivered.
It's finally happening, Elfish Guy. It is finally happening. The Sydney Derby, the Scorpions v the Sentinels. It's going to happen live. It's going to happen on land, and it's going to happen in a grand final, something that we have not had before. I've been waiting for it for feels like years, which is impossible because ANZPL is only in season 4 and we kind of do like 2-ish a year, so it obviously has not been that long, but it feels like that long. Congratulations to the Scorps, looking convincing tonight. Got a feel for the Panthers. It just didn't feel like they were up to the Scorpions this evening. Look, the Mines pick aside, I think that certainly didn't help that Mines was allowed through into the map pool, but the other victories that we did see Cthulhu from the Scorpions tonight, I think, to be fair, they did look to be the better of the two teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Scorpions brought in their pretty much A game on all of the maps that they have played out today, and but yeah, look, they outsmarted their opponents. Panthers definitely played as if they were expecting the Scorpions from the group stage to play in, to kind of show only like one or two approaches usually and just kind of varied maybe certain slight positionings here and there. But on the side of Scorpions, they knew exactly that. They knew that their opponents will be preparing only based off the idea of what has been shown during the group stage, and well, played their own cards pretty well from the map veto stage. They had Panthers dead to rights, and for Panthers, their only hope was, well, claim a 2-0 on Prokhorov, which unfortunately didn't particularly happen. Mine's, as expected, a 2-0 from Scorpions, and from there on out, it was basically just an endurance run for how long Panthers could survive.
Yeah, it certainly was. So the Panthers, they'll finish up Season 4 in 3rd place, top 50%, not a bad place to be in. Jordan, after last season, 2nd and 3rd, you know, that's some pretty good results. That's some pretty consistent results from this Perth Panthers lineup. So, to be honest, I think they've come quite a long way in the last few seasons, and it's great to see them performing well, even if they just fall short of the grand final.
Yeah, I mean, especially considering where Panthers sat as a team in the first couple of seasons, it has been a really nice resurgence from them. You know, I think they will be a little bit disappointed not having been able to make it through to the grand final. It does feel like it was very close. All it would have taken was another shakier performance from the Scorpions, and that, you know, sort of feels like it could have been a very realistic possibility, but not the case tonight. It's, to be fair, 3 losses from 3 for the Panthers against Scorpions, so I don't think you can rightly say that the better team didn't walk away with the victory tonight, at least in this head-to-head in particular. But, you know, in the back of your mind as Panthers, you'd always be feeling like this was a winnable series. And I think even having watched it play out, they weren't so far out of it that this was an unwinnable series, even though the scoreline was 4-1. And that's not that far away from a 4-0, to be fair. It was still a reasonably competitive series. It was not in the realms of the series that we watched last week, for example.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, last week was a very, very surprising result, I think, for both of those matches. I was quite excited by what the Panthers started off with here. I love seeing them come down the hill. Always like it when we see a team take the 2 cap. But the Scorpions, it felt like they didn't rush it. They didn't make any sort of silly decision, short of Russian ruining his only good shirt potentially. He's a buff man. I'm surprised that someone has that much time to go to the gym when they're so good at World of Tanks, Jordan.
Yeah, I mean, he's a good-looking fella. I mean, whatever. What can you say? If you're gonna, hey, if you look like that, get it off on stream. That's all I'm gonna say. Go for it. do what you can. Impress the viewers.
If you look like that, you would find excuses to shoutcast shirtless.
100%. 100%. I'd be rocking up to Fortress with no shirt on, saying, "Where's the banana suit?" That's all I'm wearing.
Well, thankfully, that is not what is going to happen. So I'm quite relieved about that one. Something that's also got me pretty chuffed. Finally, we've got JT on for an interview. JT, hello. Congratulations, mate. You made it through to the finals. I have so many questions that I want to ask you, and some of them could be really professional, but what I want to know is what on earth happened to you guys last week?
You know, it's hard when you try to play with your eyes closed like Napalmer did. So we were just trying to, we didn't want to, like Wamo said last interview, we didn't want to use our strats before finals. We knew that Panthers would smash Conquerors, like it wasn't going to be close. And then we knew that we would smash Panthers. It's statistically impossible for us to lose that game. We've never lost a playoffs game that isn't semi-finals. So, you know, going into finals, stats are going pretty good so far. So
wait, if I'm following that train of thought, you've literally never lost in finals either, have you?
Correct. We haven't lost in third place match, lower bracket finals, and we haven't lost in grand finals either. Only semis. So that's like the kryptonite.
Finally a chance for you to lose in grand finals in 2 weeks' time, JFT.
Or a chance to win in grand finals. Depends how you look at it, Ben. I bet you didn't fucking predict for me. Sorry.
You did.
What do you mean? I did. I picked the Scorpions.
You're my best friend. I bet Cthulhu didn't.
He didn't.
Yeah, well, you got that one right.
Yeah. I knew it.
Yeah. Well, he's going to be too scared to show up to LAN anyway, so maybe he'll dodge you. Look, I want to know, like, talk me through your thoughts going into the LAN final, right? Are you scared? Because Sentinels, they got a lot of LAN experience, right? You guys have never been to a grand final before. You were at Fortress last time, but I don't think you guys managed to get too many reps in. So what's the feeling in the camp going into that grand final?
It's kind of hard to say. I mean, it's not like we've really spoke about it much. For me, it's probably not really a big deal, but like for the guys, nerves are always a thing. Like, doesn't matter who we're playing against. Like, as much as the memes are that like we throw against Sentinels, I mean, it's just they're the better team on the day. We lost both seasons, both games. We've lost every game we've ever played against Bulldogs, and like, are they a better team than us? No, probably not. It's like, it's the same way that Sentinels lost to like a game to Conquerors and stuff, right? Like, as much as everyone can put it up to like people on my team throwing and stuff, like every season it's the same players like smashing everyone in the league apart from the finals, which I guess is what matters. But at the same time, it's like, you know, you can meme on everyone as much as you want, but like it's obviously, you know, they're good enough to finish top of the board every season and be consistent. So it's just yeah, I guess handling a pressure thing. So hopefully attitude goes as well at LAN as it did tonight. I mean, it was pretty relaxed. Last week was okay. It was just, yeah, I mean, things weren't super tilted even after the first game. We just got outplayed. We kind of made strats that just did not work against what Sentinels were doing. And like the strat, like we just got outplayed super hard. Like my prep wasn't good enough, so it should be different in finals, hopefully.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of finals, I mean, we already seen today an absolutely stellar performance from you guys, kind of switching things up a little bit comparative to some of the playdays from the group stage as well. Now that you technically got to, you know, experience Sentinels play during the beginning of the playoffs, are we expecting even more saucy strats going into the grand finals now that it's kind of basically kind of the end game, I suppose, within this season?
Yeah, maybe. I feel like we're like kind of one of the teams, maybe it's just my brain saying something that's not true, but I feel like we're one of the teams where like we play super standard, but we also can play super countery. So like today, for example, we just played super countery, but you know, sometimes we have in the past have played like, if you remember previous playoff seasons, like on Mines, for example, against Sentinels, like bat chats on Mines hiding in the buildings and stuff, you know. So there might be some stuff coming out. But I guess we'll see. Yeah.
We will see. I can't wait to see, to be honest. Finally, the curse is lifted, and you will make it through to finals, the grand final against the Sentinels. Land pressure is going to be on. I have one big question, though, for you, JT. What is your feelings on the fact that KFC has had to substitute cabbage for lettuce?
So I found this out yesterday
Yep.
while we were scrimming, and it basically ruined the mood. I'm pretty... Like, I love zinger stackers, and lettuce is a main ingredient on that, or any burger. And it's a pretty big blow. I mean, I love cabbage, but it's not a replacement for lettuce. Let's be real. Like the lettuce brings everything together. It's the glue of a burger, especially a zinger stacker. But I think I can get by as long as there's like the chili relish and the chicken. So
Yeah, okay. It's
we're
kind of
chilling.
like
I'm still waiting for Safi to pay up. So
yeah, well,
Maybe at LAN.
well, aren't we all? Aren't we all? But if you had to put it one way, it's like replacing JT with Madhouse. You know.
oh, pretty much. It's like
yeah.
replacing anyone on my team with anyone from the Bulldogs. So it's pretty rough. Yeah.
Feels bad. Well, it doesn't feel bad for you guys that you made it through to finals. So I hope you got lots of prep in store, JT. You got 2 weeks to do it, and we'll see you here in 2 weeks' time at Fortress Melbourne. Finally on the stage, not in the show match. We're in the grand final, where hopefully it won't be a 4-0. I'm counting on that. So.
Yeah, well, hopefully not. I mean, I'm just excited for the IMC Jimmy's bar tab that's going to be bigger than Wargaming's, I heard. So looking forward to it. Win or
Maybe
loss.
we'll invite everyone up for a pre-event drink again. This time with shoes. All right, that's enough of us. JT, congratulations once again to you and the boys. Great night. Looking forward to see you in a couple of weeks' time, mate.
Thanks. See you guys.
Big news there on the Zinger Stacker. Pretty disappointing, I can imagine, for someone like JT. I thought that might actually impact his play tonight, but thankfully not the case, Jordan.
Man, he doesn't stop talking, does he? I was going to ask him another question, which was at what point do you stop talking? But I felt like we'd be here for another 20 minutes if I did do that. So I thought better of it. Bring it up after.
So
I'll
BM.
reply.
Yeah, so very BM. No, it's good to see. It's good to get JT on there. And look, obviously I know far less about tanks than someone like JT, but it kind of made sense what he said, that it felt to me like we were watching a different Scorpions tonight. And maybe I don't notice when he talks about, playing that countery style, but it did feel Cthulhu, like they were playing that countery style. I know how much we love to see them. They push forward quickly. Quite often they'll rush things, but tonight that wasn't the case. They were a little bit more methodical than perhaps what I was used to.
Yeah, I mean, their Mines game on the attack has been basically the perfect showcase of that countery playstyle, where JT himself basically managed to actually showcase that very thing. Rotating the 277 pretty much all over the map, basically taking those key positions to force out some sort of a reaction from the enemy team and kind of gauge the play from there. The moment they realize that, okay, well, there's only a nice 4 by the spawn, by the rocks out the back, just play for doubles, play for the overmatch, play for there, and basically that counter playstyle kind of worked in perfectly there. The mobility of Scorpions tonight has been at all-time high, and it's amazing. It was really nice to see them played out the way how they've done it, and going into the grand finals. Look, honestly, if I would have to predict, basically, I think even a coin flip at this point would do a better job than me to predict as to who will win.
I find that interesting. Like, I struggle to see, like, I like a world where the Scorpions take it to the Sentinels and probably take them down, you know, be the second team to get the land win on stage, get that experience through. And, you know, I don't necessarily want to see a Sentinels team that's won so many ANZPL finals, because it's great for them, but it's maybe better for the league to have another team come out and do that. But in my heart of hearts, I'm not sure that this Scorpions lineup is up to the challenge of defeating them on stage. And I think that's the kicker. You can say, look, we've lifted the curse. It's not semis anymore. It's a grand final. Blah, 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 blah. I think the stage is going to be the kicker. If the Scorps can turn up and they can push aside the pressure of playing on stage and playing in the finals, they might come out on top. But that's going to be the first hurdle for them in 2 weeks' time. Let's take a look and recap today's results. We started off the day with our ANZ B League Grand Final. The two teams from Queensland going head-to-head. One of them was going to make their way through to the ANZPL for next season, and the Cairns Comets did so convincingly. And then it was our consolidation final, the Scorpions v the Panthers. We were looking to find one team to go through and face Sentinels in 2 weeks' time here at Fortress Melbourne. And I think, again, the Scorpions looking really good. I promised no 4-0s tonight, and we just managed to scrape through with 2 4-1s. Let's bring up the predictions, because I'm feeling pretty good about this one. I almost swapped my predictions at the start of the night, Jordan, because I was like, if I go against the Ouija's and they, you know, I get 2 right and they get 2 wrong, I'm going to be on 24, they're going to be on 25, and maybe I could pick it up and go even with them at the grand final. But thankfully, I did not do that.
You know what's funny? I heard that the grand final was going to be worth 15 points. Get that one right. So
15 points.
Yeah, anyone can win.
I think that's not how it works, Jordan.
Well, I mean, that's what I heard.
Winner takes it all.
Winner takes... What do we win?
A crisp high five whenever I make it to land.
Okay, add a whiskey. Deal. Done.
And whiskey, yeah. Okay, I'll chuck a whiskey on top of that.
Yeah, that looks good to me. Let's take a look at our finals bracket, because we're getting to the very end of an absolutely mammoth season. I've enjoyed every bit of this season, even the one where I was sick and I had to watch while Kev filled in for me. But it's going to happen. The Sentinels v the Scorpions. We've done it. We've somehow done it. Jordan, it took Sandman coming up with the best finals format in the world to finally make this happen. I think it's the finals that we all kind of wanted to see at some point, and we've kind of waited for it for a few seasons now. To me, this does feel like truly the 2 best teams in the league right now. And I think both teams very deserving of that finals spot.
Yeah, I would say outside of the Sentinels versus Bulldogs rivalry, the Sentinels versus Scorpions rivalry is, well, it is now the biggest one. Obviously, Bulldogs fell off quite hard and Sentinels did not. But of Season 1 and 2, Sentinels versus Bulldogs was definitely a big matchup. But now, yeah, Scorpions and Sentinels, that feels like it's been the rivalry that's had the most time to develop. And it did feel like it was a grand final that was brewing for a couple of seasons. So I'm glad that this is going to be the match we get to watch on LAN. And I hope it delivers. I hope it's a little bit closer than the last LAN final that we had.
Maybe it was just they didn't want any spoilers. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe Scorpions just went out and went, we're not going to ruin this for everyone in the finals. We're going to save strats for them. We're going to sandbag for now. I don't actually think that's what happened. But that's kind of the end result of what we got, to be honest. So 2 weeks from now, plus the day, it is a Saturday, not a Friday. Saturday, June 25, live from Fortress Melbourne. The stream will be up. You can be here, exclamation mark, finals in chat. If you want to work out how to grab a ticket, you should do it because we would love to see you there. It'll be a great night for sure. We're going to continue tonight, though, with the JPL. It has been running strong, and I like that it's on the same night as ANZPL. They have playoffs tonight as well. Osaka versus Hokkaido, Tokyo v Yokohama. So perhaps down to 4 teams. I've been enjoying this one. Cthulhu, what's your pick for these 2 matches tonight? Who's going to come out through playoffs?
For playoffs, I reckon I'm going to go personally with Osaka Krakens and Tokyo Crows. I'm feeling the energy here.
You feeling the energy? Well, they are on the left side, which helps. I think that kind of indicates that they're going okay. And they're my 2 favorite spots to visit in Japan. Like, every time I watch this, I love, like, the meta's fun to watch. We say it every week. I to be honest, I don't know. I kind of think if we had to do, like, a logo competition between the ANZPL and the JPL, I kind of feel, Jordan, that maybe the JPL wins this one by, I think it's actually quite a convincing victory.
ANZPL versus JPL?
Yeah, in terms of logos.
In terms of logos. I think there's some pretty cool ANZPL logos.
Yeah, but we did ours first, you know what I mean? Like, you're always the first one out the gate, and then maybe we need, like, a refresh. Like, the Panthers, it's a P with some claw marks. I don't know, like...
upgrade.
Yeah, I think we just need a little bit of an upgrade. Just aftermarket additions.
I mean, end of the day, we all know if ANZPL played against JPL, ANZPL would win. So that's kind of what.
Yeah.
Well, I'm ready for that game whenever you are. I'm ready for that game whenever you are. I've had a great night. I hope everyone else has enjoyed themselves. I have the pleasure of going out and I'm going to partake in the fun times at Fortress Melbourne on my Friday night before my weekend of events. And we'll get to be back here in 2 weeks from now. It was an absolute blast last time we were here. So we would love to see you 2 weeks from now, June 25, grand final of ANZ PL. It's going to be an awesome time. We'd love to see you. Other than that, happy tanking. Have a great weekend. We'll see you then.